Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to CANOEHOUND'S Outdoor Adventure Show on this fine Tuesday evening. Hope everybody's had a great week and is gearing up for what Mother Nature's going to shell out to us here over the next little while. I'm sure it's not too far or too long for many of us that will be having snow. And I'm sure many of you that may be watching might be in the northern reaches and already have snow or have experienced some. So I'm Dennis, your host for tonight's show on CANOEHOUND'S Outdoor Adventure Show, which is a show that brings you a lot closer to the great outdoors by bringing you hot topics and interviews of YouTube creators and outdoor personalities you watch and enjoy. We're here live every Tuesday evening, as it is right now at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you mark that on your calendar, and hopefully you guys will tune in each week. And if you haven't already done so, please smash that subscribe button down below. It's a great way to support the channel. And also, if you hit the bell notification, you'll know when we're going live each week, and it'll just keep you updated as to when we're ready to go. You can also follow us on Facebook at CANOEHOUND'S Outdoor Adventure Show. On there, you'll get all the news and updates and things like that as to who upcoming guests are, and little sneak peeks at what the questions might be for our weekly swag giveaways and things of that sort. So make sure you do like us on CANOEHOUND'S Outdoor Adventure Show on Facebook as well. Let's see, what do we got going on here tonight? We got a good show. I've been hoping to have these two people on for quite a long time now, and it's finally worked out. So we'll get to that in just a moment. Have a bit of news and updates for the channel here while we populate the chat over there for tonight's show. Our guests obviously are great guests, and we want to make sure we got a full house for them once we get going there. Last week we had a great evening with Italo Labignan from Canadian Sport Fishing on with us. He shared with us a lot of great stories, and he also passed along a lot of great fishing tips. If you didn't see that show, you may have missed it last week. Our number count was a little low for whatever reason, but feel free to go back into my playlist, and you'll see the show on there with Italo. Check it out. It's a really good show. And I just want to congratulate Sean Fox, who was the winner of last week's swag giveaway. He won himself a nice CANOEHOUND Adventures hat, a decal pack, as well as a really nice jersey that Italo wears when he's out doing his Canadian Sport Fishing show. So really cool prize, man. I wouldn't mind one of those babies hanging right up here too. So Italo, if you're watching, just saying, Anyways, just want to do a special quick shout out to some of my supporters on the channel. Those who are channel members, you see the little button down here that says join. Feel free to check that out. Got a little promo going on with that tonight too, but special shout out to those that are the members of the channel. I call them the CANOEHOUND Adventurers. And let's see here. We also got a few others that I'd like to thank and welcome. Backcountry Coffee Company. They're, I guess you could call them the official coffee supplier of CANOEHOUND Adventures and CANOEHOUND'S Outdoor Adventure Show. Very good, fresh ground and fresh roasted coffee beans. And hot. Anyways, and then we also got Kid Products. They're a favorite of mine there, makers of the Kid Stoves. Tonight there we have a prize that's going to be going out, a nice ferro rod striker that's going to be talked about a bit later once we're doing our swag giveaway. And of course, the good folks over at Great Signs and Graphics, who are the ones that take care of all my printing needs and things of that sort. So by all means, thank you very much to all of them. Cool news, very exciting news. This week, I had ordered these a while back, and I finally got them. They're CANOEHOUND Adventures and CANOEHOUND'S Outdoor Adventure Show iron-on patches. Very high quality. They're embroidered on a nice twill background. And I've got these for sale for anybody that might want them. They're a great stocking stuffer. I'm selling them 1 for $6 or 2 for $10. All the money goes back into paying for these live streams and the software that's involved and all the things that I give away and mailing and stuff like that. That's where all the dollars I make doing this, which isn't a lot, trust me. All that money goes back into the channel, basically for swag giveaways, t-shirts, hats, stickers, things like that. So I'm not trying to make a profit on it. It's just whatever I get basically is coming back to all of you guys. So right now we got it. If you buy the 2 for $10, I'm also going to throw in a CANOEHOUND'S Outdoor Adventure Show decal pack. So it's a bonus. You're getting all this for $10, includes shipping. I'm going to ship it to you anywhere, Canada or the US. If it's in the U.S., I actually lose a bit of money because U.S. postage and whatnot. But if you're interested, email me at canoehound@gmail.com. I'll tell you what you need to do to get this because I'll need your address and stuff, and we'll get that out in the mail to you right away. Very high quality. I've already put some on my coat pocket or jacket pocket, and they turned out really nice. There's a way you can actually get that for free. If you click on the button down here that says join, and you'll see that that's our memberships. For the 2 higher levels, which are the weekend tripper and the solo tripper, if you join the channel as a membership, I'll also send you out one, or like the same thing, the 2 patches and a decal pack as a bonus for joining the channel as a member. So that's just something. All the details will come out for that a little bit later. Anyways, enough about all that. Back onto the show. So basically, just like every other week, if you have anybody you'd like to see on the show, drop me an email, once again, at canoehound@gmail.com, and let me know who you'd like to see on the show or a topic that you might like to see us cover, and we'll try to get that into the works and get that all set up for you. So all it takes is an email. I've had many of you contact me already. There's a lot of great ideas on the back burner. Well, not on the back burner, on the foreburner anyways, but we're working on that slowly. And one last thing before we get into tonight's guests. As usual, questions. If you have a question for myself or anybody that's on panel tonight, make sure that, here's the instructions. If you'd like to ask a question, put the word question in capital letters before your question. And that way it makes it easier for me to notice or a guest to notice. They have permission to jump right off if they see a question in the chat, and they can answer it themselves as well. So just make sure you do that. Put question in capital letters beforehand, and we'll try and get that up on screen. Or you can wait until after we do our swag giveaway around 8 o'clock-ish, and I'll invite a bunch of you to, or whoever wants to come up and maybe ask a question of our guests tonight face-to-face and sort of get to meet them, well, virtually anyways. So what we're all here for, I see we got like 75 people in the house already. Thank you very much. Tonight's guest, Jon, is an insatiable... man, I trip over these every time. Jon has an insatiable addiction to the backcountry, and there's nowhere he'd rather be than in his canoe on a secluded lake with his fishing rod in hand. That's kind of everybody's dream, I'm sure, on this show tonight. He grew up in Toronto, but finally escaped to Northern Ontario a few years ago. His better half, Erin, grew up in the north in Thunder Bay area and was raised by adventurous parents who showed her rivers like the Mizanabi and the Kapka at a very young age. They live together in Northern Ontario, where they find endless adventures into the unknown, always trying to satisfy their wanderlust. Welcome to the live stream tonight, Jon and Erin from Backcountry Angling, Ontario. How you doing, guys?
Hey, good, Dennis. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I have to ask, Erin, what are you drinking?
It's actually hot chocolate with a little shot of Bailey's.
Yes, there we go. We're gonna have to get you introduced to some backcountry coffee. You know,
yeah,
right hand in hand with the name of your channel, right?
That's true. I think it's a partnership that's meant to be.
There you go. So, guys, what's been going on these days?
Well, not a ton from a camping perspective because it's the worst month of the year, November. But yeah, just trying to keep up with things at home. It's been busy. Our roof had a major issue recently, and it was leaking in. We got these wicked storms off of Lake Superior. The wind really picks up. I know you guys down south got some wicked winds 2 days ago.
Yeah, we had massive, nasty weather on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. November.
Yep.
For a late season canoe trip. That's the latest. We've been out 2 weekends ago for Jon's birthday. Usually this time last year we were hot tenting, and this year the weather was unseasonably warm, so we've got that coming up. That was a nice little just overnighter.
Yeah,
little river trip.
That's been the nice thing in November. There was that little warm spell, and we got a late canoe trip. So,
mm-hmm. Did you get that warm spell that we had last week? Like where it was like warm? Okay, it went up your way because you're up around Marathon, Ontario.
Yep,
which is like Thunder Bay-ish way, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 3.5 hours away, but like it's the closest reference point.
Yeah.
Okay. Standards.
Yeah.
Cool. So, Jon, tell us a little bit about yourself. What makes Jon tick?
Well, nature in short. But yeah, I grew up in Toronto, and I was working in marketing. I studied commerce at Ryerson, and like I was always craving nature, always driving north on the weekends, getting through cottage country traffic, and wasting a lot of that leisure time just getting from A to B and back. So eventually went back to school, reset my career, and landed a job up here, which allowed me to meet Erin. So like all the pieces just fell into place. Just reset my life, bet on myself, and use my savings to go back to school. And now I bought a house for 65 grand here because houses are so cheap up north. It's crazy. This house in Toronto would be at least $1 million. Like it's just ridiculous how unaffordable it is there. So life's good up here.
That's awesome. How about you, Erin?
A little bit about myself. Yeah, so I'm from Thunder Bay, from Northern Ontario. Grew up doing a lot of, like you said, camping and stuff. My parents are phenomenal adventurers, so they gave that to me. We spent a lot of time in Quetico and Nays, actually, which is close to here, by marathon. So, and then other trips like the Missinaibi and Kopka. And I lived in Ottawa for 5 years, though. I went away to school and studied psychology before coming home. And then I was in Geraldton for 4 years before I met Jon. So, marathon is a step up into the bigger city. From Geraldton.
Yeah, from Geraldton.
From Geraldton. Yeah, and I've just always loved the outdoors, and being here, it's a big part of it. So I'm in school. I'm doing my master's right now, though, and working full time. So that limits me. That's why I'm absent from more of Jon's trips than I'd like to be. But that's next 2 years, and I'll be done. So
just 2 years
feels like a long time. But
you're not aiming to be a professional student, are you?
No, I hate it. I say that.
Hey, some people do, right? They go to school all their life, right?
Yeah. No, I've said that to Jon like probably weekly. I'm like, I don't know who signs up to do a PhD. Like, no part of me, I couldn't. Like, I hate it. I'm not a school. I took 5 years off between doing my undergrad and actually going back, just because I wanted to make sure I'm a counselor, so mental health field, and just wanted to make sure that's what I want to do and just take a break because I hate it. But now I'm back at it.
Yeah, doing school on top of full-time job, like I'm exhausted watching her work. So
wow,
yeah,
that's cool. You know what? Right away we got a really good question here. Right? This is something I wouldn't have thought to ask, and I'm going to put this up on right now because actually Andrew Fishing is asking this question's for Jon. What's the biggest hurdle in hanging up the suit in Toronto and starting a new lifestyle in Northern Ontario? How did you overcome it?
Yeah, I love that question. Andrew and I were talking recently. I was checking out his channel the other week, and it was awesome. We got talking. It seems like Andrew is in a pretty similar situation that I was, except with kids too, which makes it harder to just drop everything and reset your life. But the biggest hurdle was probably the money. Like, I could have made way more money if I had stayed in Toronto, but I would probably be poorer because the cost of living was so high. So you're making money just to spend it and live there in a place where I didn't want to. So there were hardly any hurdles for me. It was so crystal clear what I wanted. Leaving my family in Toronto was the only thing. It's the only thing that I look back on thinking I wish it was different, because they're now an 11-hour drive away. Mm-hmm. And they get home twice a year. They might come up as well. Did a trip recently with my dad and sister and stepmom and the sister's dog. But yeah, so they come up sometimes. But yeah, not seeing them is the biggest hurdle. But everything else is amazing here. It's just endless wilderness. And your people, so it's not crowded camping out here. Like, I never see anyone really. We never see anyone.
How did you pick marathon though? Like, did you just like sort of take a thumbtack or a dart and just go, whoa, Northern Ontario, poof, there you are?
Yeah, it's funny. I did the Steel River Loop up here. It's very close to us here, right? Mm-hmm. I did that in 2017. After the Steel River, I came into town here, and at that point in my life, I was in the process of resetting my life, and I thought, I was kind of like feeling it out, like, could I live here? And it felt foreign. Like, there's a bit of a culture shock in going from Toronto to Marathon.
Mhm.
And it felt foreign and weird, and I was like, no, this is too far north. I couldn't live here. I told my mom, no, don't worry, Mom, I'm not going that far north. It's not for me. She wanted me to be closer, of course, but yeah. And then, but I applied for a job here after I went back to school, got it, and took it, and yeah, it's just worked out amazingly. It's a beautiful town too. Like if you've ever been to the North Shore of Superior, very scenic. It's almost like Vancouver Island-esque, not quite as high mountains or hills, but very scenic right on Superior. So,
well, you know what? I kind of like what Kevin Callan did, doing him and Christine doing that tour, and they happened to come across you guys up your area. I might do something like that with my wife next year and do like one of these road shows or just like, road trip where we're going to hit a few provincial parks and maybe 2 days at each park rather than just one like they did. But yeah, it'll probably bring us your way, because I haven't been to the North Shores of Superior in, I was probably early 20s, and I'm a lot older than that now. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, keep us posted. You have to pop in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Now, did you know Erin before you made that move, or you met up there in that area?
No, you tell it. I've talked.
No, we met.
I told you, Dennis, I'm not a talker. We've been trying to do this for a long time, but I like talking is not my natural, my disposition. Like I'm not a talker. I'm talking right now because it'd be weird if I wasn't. But like I'm usually a man of few words. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, we met. You'd been here for almost a year, maybe close to. I was up in Geraldton for a while, and we met online and Tinder. Not sure how our radius is. We were 300 kilometers apart, but somehow the Tinder algorithm knew.
Yeah, it was weird. Like you have a maximum radius on Tinder for like how far you can match, unless you pay for the upgraded version, which of course we weren't going to do for an app. So evidently at some point we drove within range of each other, and Tinder then put us into each other's matches. Thankfully, Erin had a canoeing picture and other good stuff, and so I swiped right, she swiped right, and yeah.
Here we are.
Okay, so that's the swiping app, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm an old guy. I don't know.
You should be glad you never had to go through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same
I've been married for like 30 years, so yeah.
Yeah,
that's all right. I hope it's 30 years. Okay. Anyway, so you two seem to have this real chemistry about you. Just very evident in the videos that I watch. Jon, I've been a fan of your channel like for a number of years. I come across, I think the first video I seen of yours, I could still remember it, was the one where you slept in your car at Wickstead Lake because you were afraid of the people were there, and you thought it was all sketchy and stuff like that. And the reason why with the Wickstead Lake one was because I camp at that lake yearly. Right. It's like a whole family adventure. We go up there, and I'm not talking just the wife and I. I'm talking like 14 or 15 of us. Wow. And I was trying to identify the island you actually camped on, and I know where it is now because, like I said, I've been going there so many years. But that's where I first started following your channel and been a fan ever since. So keep up the great work.
Was it you and your family that were the people Jon was scared of?
No, that was not us. Not likely, because I remember you saying that you ended up talking to the people and everything, and I don't remember talking to you at the boat launch there. So, no. But you know what? That's a very popular, busy lake, and I can see why you would have been thinking that, especially 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever. People, yeah. Anyways,
it's a nice lake.
Sorry,
my personal best walleye was there actually, a 28-incher.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I got my personal best in there too. It was really 26.5. Yeah. So that lake gets gill netted, and all the big fish end up in coolers, and all the small ones end up dead on the back of an island. Which is, we won't even talk about that because I know how you would feel about that, and I feel the same way. So. Let's see here. We got another good question here by Pam saying, Jon, your 200-kilometer Pick River video, outstanding. Could you tell us about your evolution as a YouTube creator? The gear, skills, your goals as a filmmaker? Great question.
Whew. Yeah, I'll try and keep this as short as possible. I started out with a little point and shoot camera. If anyone wants to start out, use your cell phone or something. Like don't go and make all these investments before you even know if you like it. I started out doing it because I was watching like Explore the Backcountry and Kevin Callan all winter. And then for my spring trip in 2017, I brought out my point and shoot camera just to like try it. I had a serious phobia of talking to microphones. Like I hated it. It really freaked me out, especially speaking to an audience. It gave me it spooked me. So I wanted to get over that. So that's one reason why I started. And then also just to share what I love, of course. That's why I think most of us do this. But so I started with the point and shoot camera. The audio was horrendous. The video quality was not much better. So I decided at that point, that's when I got this camera. It's not expensive. It's like $600 camera, which is not expensive compared to a lot of people's main cameras. But it's such a great all-in-one tool. And then I got a GoPro. Then Erin got a GoPro, and now we just added a couple other things, which we got the drone last year, and then Erin just got me. Wrong GoPro. I got a few here.
Don't you hate that problem?
This one. This is a 360 camera. It's the GoPro Max.
Okay.
So that's where it's gone in terms of equipment, but like evolution, it's just a learning curve. Like unless you have training, which I have none of, you just got to go through it. And I put out 250 something videos now at this point. So I've just had a lot of practice. Not that I'm good at it by any means, but I think I've stepped up from like complete hack to amateur.
Mm-hmm. No,
Yeah.
you know what? I find your videos are very polished. That the quality of your shot. Well, you know what? Have you seen mine?
Same as mine, man.
No, it's like I say, you have a good following, so there's got to be a reason why there's a good following. It's obviously you're doing something right. So
all I got is passion.
He has a passion for photography too, though, that I think not like I don't have in the same way. I like sharing the story, but I don't get as so that's where I find in his videos he has really like our videos, I guess, but he does that part of it, the B-roll, like those really nice nature shots and stuff that if I was a YouTuber or in my one solo video I did that, like I just don't have that because that's not a skill like not that I'm not passionate, I think I can grow that, but I think that's part of something that adds to your videos as well, just makes them dynamic because it's something you really love capturing things and for it's not just about like trying to share it, it's that actual passion for sharing like the small details, and that's where I think lots of those really nice B-roll shots come in, and so I think that passion kind of translates into the overall video. You see those shots. Yeah,
and thanks Pam for the great comment and question. So I had and I just want to add that having Erin as like a co-camera person is hugely beneficial. Not only is it's not me monologuing for however long, like, well, sometimes it is like Leave Behind is 2 hours of me monologuing, but it's really nice to have another perspective, another voice, another face. Not to mention she got a GoPro when we started pretty early on when we started dating. I recorded our second date for a video, and then she was into it, so she got a GoPro of her own. I had the Hero 6, she got this Hero 7, which was actually a massive upgrade because the audio got like light years better between those, so that really helped the channel. So she's been a huge part of the channel as well.
So second date, GoPro comes out, you weren't creeped out, Erin? Wait a minute, what's this guy doing here, right?
I mean, but he's really handsome, so I gave him I was like, it's kind of weird, but he's pretty good looking, so we'll let it slide. No, well, it's funny because he mentioned it. Like, we obviously on our first date, he talked about that he films and has a passion for it, and we kind of talked about that, and then we were talking about going camping, and he said like, oh, like be prepared to be in a video or something, and I actually didn't think it was serious. I was like, oh, that's cute, and then he actually had the gear, and I was like, I guess we're doing this.
I think I asked.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I didn't say
He wasn't
you're
just
doing
like
this.
here it is.
I think I asked. So.
Yeah, and but it was cool. It felt like even then, I think the fact like, or maybe just in any relationship early on, but it felt special. So it felt cool to like the relationships felt special, and I was like, this will be it's a pretty unique second date. It's hoping that this one's going to last. And so it'd be nice to have I don't know. It was more sweet and kind of fun than weird.
Yeah.
How soon into the relationship did he start saying, "Hey, yeah, I'm a YouTuber"?
Yeah, it's not something I tell people.
No,
it feels like my first career in marketing really put me off of self-promotion. Like it's a smart thing to do if you want to grow your business, brand, whatever. But like I personally hate doing it now. Just it feels unorganic to me, inorganic. So yeah, I don't think
He sent me a
bring it up,
video before we met, but it was because we were just talking about things that we're into, and he obviously into camping. We talked a lot about that, but then he had mentioned too that he's into photography and filmmaking. So I asked, I said, "Oh, do you like that's cool? What sort of like stuff do you do?" And he sent me just he was like, "Oh, stuff like this," and it was just one of his shorter clips of kind of some B-roll and stuff, and I thought it was really cool. I don't know why you would think I would have if I was gone and checked out your channel, but I didn't. Sorry.
Still doesn't watch.
and how do you feel now, Erin, about being part of his channel? Because you are a big part of the channel now.
Oh yeah, it's our channel at this point for sure.
I love it. Again, for mostly I just love to be able to share it. It's such an amazing way to be able to share these adventures and to catalog them for ourselves, right?
Yes.
For me, that's a huge part of it, to be able to think years down the line that we can go and look back at all these adventures. And especially both my parents have had such amazing lifetimes of adventures, and I love hearing about them, and the thought that how cool it would have been to be able to see videos of it, and the fact that we'll have that to share one day. I absolutely love. And then just sharing with the family, especially Quetico was such, and Canoe Route of Our Own, our two really big trips that we've done are so spectacular, and it's such a hard to put into words experience. And so to be able to actually show and share it that way, I really love. And then the whole YouTube thing, it's something I never anticipated. It wasn't something I planned for myself, but it's fun.
Me neither.
It's a good
just happened.
Yeah, and it's very it's funny because we live our normal lives and do our normal stuff, but every once in a while, very rarely, but once or twice a year, we'll be at Superstore and someone will be like, "Hey, you're from YouTube." Yeah. So very, very micro celebrity status. Very micro, yeah.
But it's kind of an odd feeling when somebody comes up to you and they recognize you. I know myself too. It's going to the Toronto Outdoor Show or something, right? And somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, you're a canoe hound or something," right? It's kind of, I don't handle it that good. It's I kind of get shy. I guess that's a great way to put it, right? But so I could understand that. Jon, I have a question for you. So you had a couple of great outing experiences with Joe Robinette this past summer.
Yep.
Did you find your GoPro?
No.
GoPro?
Erin's GoPro.
Did you find Erin's GoPro?
I love hers. Which is too bad because I replaced it, obviously, but I would have rather replaced the crappy GoPro Hero 6. Right. No, I wanted to go back and look for it, and it just didn't really work out, and now it's going to be frozen and lost. I might go back next year because it was a cool spot, but I don't think I'll ever find it, which is a shame because I had some of the best footage of that trip. The grueling trip to get in there and the ridiculous bugs, which were pretty much the worst I've seen. So,
okay. And were you back in the bush shaking the tree and growling?
Yes.
Were you really?
No.
I don't know if Joe's on tonight or not, but yeah, I was hoping you would say yes. So,
yeah, well, he's a great guy. He's a celebrity. We're nobody, but. He brought really nice steaks and scotch, and he's a very considerate guy. So yeah, I had a great time. We're hoping to meet up again soon.
Yep. So let's get back into a bit of Jon's childhood here. So when did little Jon start fishing?
I don't know the age, but I was really young. My dad got me started into that, and my first distinct memory of fishing was off a dock in near Bob Cajun at Elam Lodge. I don't know if anyone out there knows that place, but and just catching little sunfish and jumping for joy. We had a big bucket on the dock, and I would catch him and I'd put him in there and I'd watch him. And yeah, I was like, it was awesome. I was so stoked. I was hooked.
Was that the moment? Like, boom, a light bulb went off in your head?
Yeah, I think so. Or going out with my dad and just casting topwater, jitterbugs for bass in the morning, waking up early and going out on the calm water. Like in the rare opportunities we got to head to cottage country. We didn't have a cottage, but sometimes we got opportunities. And yeah, like it was just the escape that even then I loved.
Well, I'm gonna throw out an early thank you to you, John, because this past summer I did a canoe trip with Ingo Hetzer from Kid Products and Dan Mailot, who's in the chat tonight. There, he's one of my moderators.
Mm-hmm.
Went up to Naganash Provincial Park and kind of got windbound and weatherbound to our campsite. So we spent a lot of time there, and we made a couple of attempts that we were going to go out and try to do this long portage, like 2.6 kilometers or something, just for a hike, just to do something, right? And our 2 or 3 failed attempts, but on the one attempt, I happened to start fishing, right? And I latched onto a nice small bass, landed it, put it back in, and then I landed myself hooked onto a really nice bass, and started to bring it in. I had my fishing net right beside me, but me being the YouTuber wanting to do the cool lip the fish shot, you can probably guess what happened.
Yeah.
Deep into the finger, right? And right there, I think I mentioned you about two or three times saying, "Yep, I'm going barbless." John, I see the John's videos all the time, right? But in your videos, I see often you lip the fish, and Erin, I see you doing the same thing. You're quite the fisherwoman yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen you catch some really nice fish on there. Besides your time you got stuck in the leg, John, and I thought you were going to pass out, but have you been stuck a few times like that before?
Pardon me?
Have you been stuck like that a few times before? Is that the reason why you go barbless, or is it simply a conservation measure?
No, just for catch and release. I've hooked enough fish barbarically that the guilt finally consumed me. Like, I don't even like talking about it. No, not that I'm upset you brought it up. I don't mean it that way. I mean, it hurts me to think of like the damage I have done to fish, like hook them in the eye or in the gills and release them. That has stuck with me. And I didn't want to give up fishing. It's part of me, but I wanted to do it as humanely as I possibly could. So yeah, that's why I started doing that. And ironically, that hook that caught me in the leg, it was pinched. I just didn't pinch it properly, and there was a little bit left on the barb. Right. So if you don't pinch it flush, you might as well not pinch it at all.
Is that right? Now, I know I got home and I watched a couple of YouTube videos on how to properly pull out a hook. Right, because we cut and I had a little stem, and my buddy Ingo gave me a hand to get that out. I thought I was going to pass out. Yeah, call me a wuss. You'll get to see it in my next video I'm posting. But it wasn't a pleasant. It was not a pleasant experience, and I could see why you do it and the guilt. And now, after having just stuck in the finger, I've already done all my tackle for that I bring in my canoe. It's already all crimped.
Right on.
I'm joining the ranks. I could see why. So those of you that are fisher people in your canoes, kayaks, or even from shore or whatever, if you're planning catch and release, why not do it the humane way? So I commend you on that. You also have a great love for the outdoors. So you're sort of is conservative the right term, the right word for it?
I guess.
Yeah, you have that love. You like to leave very little footprint when you go out there, right?
Yeah, I mean, relative to where we are, I mean, we're hacking out portages, so we're certainly not leave no trace, but it's kind of like the opposite of what we're trying to do. We're trying to establish and maintain roots around here, because there are very few. You would think everyone canoes up here. As a city boy, I thought that. No. Mm-hmm. People have boats and ATVs and snowmobiles. If you get a trail, it's probably a snowmobile trail. So. I'm not like anti-industry or anything, but I believe there's a balance to be found, and I guess that's where I stand.
Yeah, and very much like just common sense. If you bring in beer cans, pack them out, that type of stuff. I'm pretty passionate about that, but John. But yeah, in terms of like we're lucky because it's a balance. Like there's a lot of great things about provincial parks, like maintain trails, but part of what we love about like doing more backcountry stuff is being able to find firewood wherever, not have scarcity, cut boughs if we need. We do less of that. Like when our first couple times hot tenting, we cut boughs for the floor, which I think where we are, it's not we do it selectively and it's not a huge impact, but the kind of messaging to other people that that might be camping in more populated areas, we don't want to, so we kind of stop doing that. But we have the luxury of being able to blaze trails if we want.
Yeah, but it's so wild up here. It's just thick boreal forest.
Yeah, and you know what? The trail blazing that you're doing too, like the forest is so thick up there that it'll fill in like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But a lot of people don't realize that if they're from like the southern United States or somewhere less densely forested. So sometimes we get a comment like, "Hey, have you ever heard of Leave No Trace?"
Yeah.
So, you can't please everybody.
Yeah.
I hear you on that. So, Erin, to get into a little bit about what you do, you're not afraid to roll up your sleeves and dig right in and get in there. I've seen you taking down trees. I've seen you hip deep and breaking ice in frigid ice cold water. That there was impressive. Something my wife would I never see my wife do, and not that I'd expect her to do it.
Yeah.
But where does this all come from? Does that come from your upbringing, like your parents being outdoorsy type of people and introducing you to that?
Yeah, I think a couple things. Like one definitely is the upbringing, just being raised and I've said this to Jon before. I don't know if I've shared it on camera or not. It's been relevant, but I genuinely love processing wood. People know that, and I think that comes from a pretty young age. I was taught how to do that, and it felt great. Like that was one of the ways I contributed to camp, and it felt pretty adult. Maybe it was too young of an age. I don't know if we recommend it anymore. Don't tell CAS, but I don't know. I don't know how old I was, but I was kind of at the age where you, it was young. I know that much. But like I love that feeling of contributing and being part of camp, and so I think that's carried through. And then the other part of it that's relevant is I've spent a lot of my life actually working construction work. My dad's a carpenter, and I lived out west for several years. And when I was 15, I started going out and working with him in the summers. And then I spent some time with him after I finished high school before going to university. And then every summer for 6 years while I was in school, I did construction, concrete forming. So a bit of that plays into it too, of just, kind of having to put your head down and get jobs done. You kind of get that attitude, and those long days, that's, I think, really where I have that endurance piece, if you just kind of put your head down and do what you have to. And then I have a bit of a hasty personality. Jon and I balance
hasty
out
hobbit.
Well there, where I so like the ice thing is a good example, right? We're standing there and it's like, hey, we're locked in, we've been planning this trip all winter. How do we get through it? And I'm like, I can kick. Like, I'm like, I'm just going to get in. When I got in, it was ankle deep, and I'm like, okay, this isn't so bad. And then you get started, and I can see I don't know how far it was, maybe 100 meters less.
A few hundred meters.
Okay. Of ice, but it's that close to the rest of our canoe trip. So it's just like, well, now we're knee deep. Now we're waist deep.
She jumps head first.
Yeah. Sometimes too. And that's where some of the injuries come from and the falls.
Yeah.
A double-edged axe, we'll call it.
Because I remember seeing, I think it was one of your Instagram posts there, your legs were just like bruised and beaten from that.
That was the keyword of our own. That was after the ice, actually. I think the ice was responsible for a lot of that. It was thick.
Yeah. Wow.
But then just blasting through, we were doing a lot of clearing. So I kind of, like, I'm full of scars. I kind of consider myself collateral damage, where like Jon is like, let's prevent injury, because he spent more time doing solo stuff where like you have to worry about that. You can't put yourself in danger. It's more risky, right? Where I think my experience is more, it's still always good self-preservation, but that instinct is limited in me. I kind of am just like, oh, I've got 10 fingers. If something happens to one, I don't know. It's
like a machete. She loves bringing a machete. I think it is way too high risk and low reward. We just got this new splitting axe, and I foresee something. It's very sharp.
Very, very careful.
Very
Those things are
sharp.
serious.
I've been
Yeah.
using it as long as I can walk, so it's
Yeah.
second nature. But yes, no, it does. Accents do
Like-
happen with me.
Out with Alexis outdoors and explore the backcountry last winter.
The hand.
Yeah.
She that was bad. Like it was a lot worse than it looked on camera. She basically cut to the bone. It was ugly. And she
I
just
was going to ask you about that there because it looked pretty serious there when everybody was trying to clean it up and stuff like that. Did you any ligament damage or anything like that?
Luckily not. No, we ended up going to the hospital in Sudbury the next day. We unwrapped it and it looked rotten. So we took it to the hospital and 3 stitches I think I ended up with. Yeah, that's a good example of I was just enjoying myself and those things happen. But it's not a coincidence. I think that it happens more to me than John because he's a lot more conscientious. But
Cool.
so I don't know. It's a combination of all those things. I think that leads to me just and I love it. One thing too, I think that's really important. Not just being raised in outdoors, but being raised by a family that wasn't concerned with gender roles and like having to conform to that. So I was allowed to chop wood and get dirty, and I wasn't told to that I was delicate, even though I'm more delicate than I believe probably. but that's a big part of it too, right? Being raised in a household where it was kind of like just being able to do things and not being kind of told that that's not for. Just as I know, there's always we get some comments and stuff of gender roles. Some are positive, some aren't. Like sometimes John gets grief for letting me cut so much wood or do so much of the work and whatever. And
Attaboy, John.
Yeah.
Attaboy, John.
I wouldn't be with him. Like if there was ever a time, like if he was like, "Honey, it's safer if I cut the wood," I would like it wouldn't.
why don't you go prepare dinner? Like,
yeah. So
it's 2020.
Yeah. But that was a big part of it too, was that upbringing of just in not just the adventures, but just the general environment of kind of being. My parents were, pretty laid back, and it was just progressive, whatever you're into. My dad was a carpenter. I'm super close with him. I grew up by his side, and kind of I always looked up to him, and so just being kind of taught that that's normal is a big part of it too.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Very cool. No, I commend you. You know what? There's no gender barriers out there. Anybody could do anything out there, right?
Right.
And I'm an advocate for that there. John, let's talk about a few of your personal bests as far as the fishing is concerned. Throw us some numbers and fish.
Oh, geez. I'm gonna feel like a brag. No, not anything.
No. This is the
impressive.
I want to know.
Pike 43 inches, Georgian Bay. Walleye 28 on Wicksteed, like I mentioned. Smallmouth bass, small and large. I've capped out at about 6 pounds, and I don't hardly get the fish bass anymore, except in Quetico. So I've never beaten that. Lake trout, maybe 8 pounds. I don't know. Those are the first ones that come to mind. Like panfish, I don't fish.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite to go after?
I love lake trout, and I love big pike in the spring for obvious reasons. Like you can sight fish them, and they're very accessible. And if the mood strikes them right, if the sun's warming things up, like they could be very aggressive. Like the first day I caught my first 40-inch pike was up in Fushimi Lake Provincial Park near Hearst, which is a great fishing lake, great pike lake. And I found this bay. It was loaded with pike. I have no clue how many I caught there, but like 5-pounder after 5-pounder, and then got into a 40-incher and then another 40-incher.
Back to back. Wow.
Yeah, so like fishing them in the spring can be just explosive. So, but overall, I'd say lake trout is my favorite to fish for.
Cool. And just so you know, it's written exactly like that. I have on here, John, let's talk. Oh, no, wait. Time to brag, John. Tell us about some of your personal best fish. So that's exactly how I wrote it on here. So
But I mean, considering how much I've fished, those stats weren't even that good. So.
Yeah, you always seem to pull out a nice one and have it on screen. I just want to touch base with everybody that's in the chat tonight. I've been seeing a lot of great questions, and I apologize that I haven't gotten to your questions yet. Please do keep them in your head, because what I'm going to do is after 8 o'clock when we do our swag giveaway, I'm going to invite some of you up, but I'm also going to work in some of the typed in questions throughout there. I really apologize that we haven't gotten to too many of the questions yet, but please know that we'll get to these. John, I wanted to talk to you about the 2-hour series that you put out like 3 weeks ago. Very good. I was glued to I usually have a hard time with videos that are like, over an hour type of thing long, but I was glued to it from start to finish. Explain the concept. What made you want to do that trip, a solo trip? What was it? First off, what was the name of the trip? Spoiler alert question. Anyways, carry on. Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, I put my heart and soul into that one, which is like kind of sad because it's still an amateur production, but I tried really hard, and it meant something to me. It was called Leave Behind, and I realized I thought I didn't have enough vacation to do another trip like that this year. That's always the biggest limiting factor. People think I don't have a job or that I'm a teacher because I have so much time off. I have 3 weeks off, a paid vacation, which is, because I've been at my job 2 years plus now. So there's nothing crazy about that. I just use it pretty much all for camping and use my weekends and statutory holidays strategically. But anyway, yeah, it's been a route that's been on my mind for quite a while. Big Gong First Nation down the highway. Chief Michano led a trip down there a couple of years ago, and I saw that video, and it really, got me even more inspired to do that trip. They did a beautiful video of it, which is I linked in my video. And it's a 200-kilometer route that has not that many portages, so that's pretty nice, and it's local. I hate driving. I hate spending so much of my vacation time driving. I know far away from wilderness, and you have no choice, right?
Yeah.
But if I can avoid it, and a bit smaller carbon footprint with all that. But yeah, it worked out to be such a wonderful trip. I saw a lynx's butt and tons of wildlife, including 4 moose at the end, 3 of which were at my campsite, which I've never had that experience before. That was amazing. And then the one bull came over to me, right? And that was pretty scary because a bull in the rut is very dangerous.
Yeah.
I left a comment in that video about my friend whose dad I was almost very, very nearly killed by a bull moose while I was on that trip. So yeah, they're not to be underestimated.
As soon as I seen that bull moose walking into the water headed kind of your direction, I started thinking to myself, uh-oh. But and he was a pretty majestic bull too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you had a little bit of everything thrown at you, like weather-wise, condition-wise, weather, like the waters, everything. It seemed like for as much good as you had in that trip, you almost had as much bad.
Yeah, it was a challenging trip, and I knew that going in. Like I saw the forecast, it was horrible. I was contemplating postponing it by a week. But, if you postpone a trip by a week, you might not get it back. Things may come up in life. The weather may be even worse and like not even feasible the following week. So just went for it. It was bloody cold though. Like I had bad circulation too. So I was so cold a lot of the time. Never, except for one time when I got like a real chill, I was never at risk of hypothermia. I'm not stupid. I'm not going out there to leave Erin widowed or anything, but yeah, it was cold. It was cold. I got to get some better gear for that. Like I'm always just scraping by. And I don't like buying tons of stuff. It probably seems like we do because there's always new gear on the show, but I buy a lot less gear than I might. So we want to get dry suits, but they're so damn expensive.
Yeah. Something like that for the type of adventuring you're doing would be a pretty key thing to have, especially when you're wading into water, cool conditions, because that's where you can get yourself into trouble, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. For sure. I think it's just a matter of, the list of gear we could use is never ending. So people are always like, oh, why don't you have this? You should have that. There's 200 things we should have, but we try and not be excessive about it. Yeah, go ahead.
Were you done?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. This is the number one thing is why would you use that canoe?
Yeah.
You should use this canoe or this kayak.
Yeah.
Canoes are very expensive, very large.
Yeah.
Like I don't have 24 canoes like Kevin Callan.
Yeah.
Just kidding, Kevin.
Maybe he'll lend you one if you don't mind paddling around with something that says the Happy Camper on
Yeah.
Oh no, I saw what happened to Northern Scavengers with his boat.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good guy in that way.
Oh, you should have it, but it's always like, you know, if we had an inventory of canoes, we'd bring the right one every time, but we only have 3.
Yeah.
So.
But it's all good. It's well intentioned and people are just trying to help, so it's all good.
Because I seen a question earlier on in the chat there asking about your canoe, how, like, you know, you made the transition at least from the fiberglass canoe to the Novacraft canoe that you're using currently, right? What was that transition like? Is the Novacraft, what material is that made out of?
It's the tough stuff Expedition.
Okay.
Like the more durable version of Tough Stuff.
Yep.
And that canoe's been excellent. It's so nice to have a 17-footer as opposed to my old canoe, which was a 15 for tandem. Squeezing all of our gear into 15-footer for like a week-long trip or more, like you're stacking upright, which is never good. You make yourself more tippy.
Mm-hmm.
But now in the 17, everything just fits flat down and it's awesome.
Yeah. Sometimes the added foot or two there can really make a world of difference, right?
Yeah,
especially lowering your center of gravity. And you were shooting like for I don't know the proper way to say this without saying, man, you got big balls to be hitting some of the whitewater you were hitting, right? Solo with gear and given the weather conditions, right? You're a pretty brave soul.
Yeah, I don't know. It was anything too serious. Like guys like Jim Baird and Brad and Leah, they're doing way bigger whitewater than I am. But I'm scared to drown. Like no bones about that. Like class 3 rapids scares me. Class 4, I probably, unless it was like super clean, I wouldn't even consider it. Because the power of water is just, you have no chance against it, right? It's extremely scary. So that's something I don't want to mess with.
We want to respect it. And we actually will.
I was going to turn the fan off.
Yeah. And for everybody in the chat, if you haven't already seen John's video, he posted it about 3 weeks ago, and it's called Leave Behind. Just remember that name, Leave Behind. And check that out for sure, because it's well worth a watch. It's better than watching an episode of Seinfeld. We'll say that.
No. Thanks.
Oh, that's awesome. Let's see here. So Erin, one of the trips before that, the big trip that you two did, which was, I believe, was a multi-part. You kind of had a bit of an issue with your leg.
Quite a bit.
Oh, my, quite a bit.
How is the knee now? Has it recouped, or like it looked pretty serious? You had me concerned.
Yeah,
I was terrified.
It
looked really bad at first.
It's you know what, I think, because I've rolled ankles before, and sometimes it takes a couple months to fully heal, and this one healed pretty quick. Overall, no lingering issues, and honestly, I think part of it was that we kept moving and it kept it mobile, and it didn't really seize up. So it was like it gave me quite a bit of grief the day it happened, but even that, it was almost in shock. It was the following day. I think it was the following day. There was one day where this wasn't filmed, because I think it wouldn't have been a good time to pull the camera, but there was one day where there was tears because of, like, I was just in pain, and but we had no choice but to keep going or quit the trip, which wasn't something I wanted to do. So I think it was the day after it happened where it had started to kind of set in, and it just hurt, and I don't like, I hate when you can't trust your feet. So that feeling unstable, like I was okay as long as I had solid steps, but anytime we're on rocks or we're, just any sort of uneven ground, which happens all the time, it became, I had to just be really slow about it, because anytime I kind of had any range of motion, it hurts. So, but after and even after there's a couple days, like for the remainder of the trip, it was present, but it wasn't terrible. Like it surprisingly.
Yeah, I was lucky.
Yeah.
Like looking at her on the ground, I was thinking about the SOS button because we were we were like at the farthest point of our trip. It was the worst time for it to happen. So I was thinking, if she can't continue, there's no alternative but the SOS button on our PLB, personal locator beacon.
So, and there was a couple minutes of where I was staying, like right when it happened. It was a lot of pain. It was one of those things where when it happens, you're I think I have a pretty high pain tolerance, and very rarely I'm screaming on the ground with it. So, but yeah, we got lucky. I think part of it was just we were cautious, and I didn't take on more than I had to. But nice, Jim.
Yeah, I think that goes back to the big balls question, right?
But yeah. So anyway, luckily no lingering issues with it. It's the short answer to your question.
Yeah, cool. So you guys, like last winter there, you did the winter camping trip there, where a bunch of you went hot tanning. There's Karina and the Baird boys, and was it the Baird boys there?
It was
Brad and Jay. Okay. Are you still in touch with them? Do you communicate often with them? It's always fun doing collab videos, right? Especially when you stay in touch.
Yeah, we got along extremely well, and we've kept in touch. We would love to, I'm sure we would have, if we lived closer together, we would have done it again by now.
Yeah,
we're far apart. It's like 11 hours still between us. So
but it's one of those things where you can all meet in the middle type of thing, right? Plan a trip.
It's a long way with everyone's schedules, limited vacation.
Yeah. That one worked out really well because we were on our way to Southern Ontario to see John's family for Christmas last year. So we were actually headed in that direction, and it made it a bit easier to kind of coordinate and collaborate. And it was a ton of fun. All four of them are lovely people, and looking forward to, I'm sure we'll see all of them again and get together with them again. Brad
doesn't post nearly as quickly as I do, which is probably a good thing. He hasn't posted his yet, so that's still coming. We're looking forward.
Oh, is that right? He hasn't posted, and it was fun watching the video perspective, like from a couple of different content creators about the same video, right? Because you see, it's funny because it's really neat to watch when say for instance, Karina's video, you see you guys in the background shooting a clip, and like you're behind and while she's shooting hers or something, right? So yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. I see. I think Karina's in the chat tonight. Yeah, she is there. She is there too. Yeah, it's cool.
Karina.
Awesome. So we're getting close to that 8 o'clock hour. What I want to do is I'm going to do the swag giveaway now, or get the question going for that. As I mentioned earlier, there were a lot of really good questions in the chat over there that I wouldn't mind seeing some people come up on screen and answer. Do you mind bringing up some people and answering some questions?
Come on up.
Okay, I'm going to put the invite out there to anybody that wants to join the chat here and maybe ask a question or two of Erin and Jon or myself, but Erin and Jon are the focus tonight. Let's see here. Control V is going to put that there and there. So for anybody that wants to come up on screen, ask a question, all I ask you do is please click on that link. It'll open up a page where you'll have to set up your camera, your microphone, and you input your name, and then hit enter studio. When you do that, please turn off the volume on your YouTube feed so we don't get feedback. That's the only thing that I ask, and you can watch and you can hear through StreamYard itself, so just shut off that volume. Our swag giveaway tonight. Well, I got some new patches, as I mentioned earlier in the show, which are for sale, but I'm going to give a couple away along with a Canoe Hound Adventures decal pack and a Canoe Hound Adventures t-shirt, or Canoe Hound's Outdoor Adventure Show t-shirt. As I mentioned, any proceeds that come into the show comes right back out to you guys through swag and mailing costs and stuff like that. So what we do for our giveaway now is please don't put the answer in the chat, okay? Save the answer, and we just touched on the answer to this question a few minutes ago, and I asked you to listen carefully. So tonight's question, and I'll actually pop it right up here on screen, which is, what was the name of Jon's 2-hour premiere video about a powerful 200-kilometer solar wilderness trip that he posted about 3 weeks ago? Okay, he mentioned a name. I mentioned a name a couple of times. If you don't know what it is, don't worry about it because you have until Saturday at 11 p.m. to send your answer to coasprize@gmail.com. Okay, I'll leave this question going up here on the screen for a few minutes so that you can get all the information that you need from it. But so what was the name of Jon's 2-hour premiere video about a powerful 200-kilometer solar wilderness trip that he posted about 3 weeks ago? If you're unsure, you can even go to his YouTube channel and check out the video. Just look for the one that says 3 weeks ago, and you'll find it there. So there we go. Nice little plug for your video, Jon. Let's get some more views on that. What's your biggest viewed video so far? Do you know?
Our Quincy, our first Quincy.
Was that the failed attempt one?
Sorry?
Was that the failed attempt when it was like too warm?
Oh.
No? Okay.
You would think that one would get more traction because you get to see me get buried in snow. But no, we did a Quincy in 2019 in March. And it was beautiful. It was a good thumbnail. You know, it's like Erin in the Quincy, snow all around her with like some nice colorful items.
Hudson's Bay blanket down.
It's all about the bloody thumbnail.
Yeah. Bright backpack, some bright contrast.
Stupid thumbnails. It's nice having her in the house because I can ask for a second opinion on thumbnails. Like, it's so important. If you could make the best video of all time, and if your thumbnail sucks and no one clicks it, they're never gonna know.
Never gonna see it.
It's a frustrating reality, and I used to be pretty like dry with my thumbnails and titles, and I try to spice them up at the recommendation of viewers who were like, "Dude, your titles suck." Someone sent us a letter saying that very nicely. It was a very nice letter, but it's so important.
Maybe they'll send me a letter like that telling me what I need to do to get my channel to grow. That'd be awesome. But everybody can help by hitting that subscribe button down below right now, right? So I see we got actually Andrew fishing. Well, I'm gonna pop you guys into a square screen. No, I better not for this. But you guys are welcome to get close. You guys are cozy. Gonna welcome to the stream. Actually, Andrew fishing. How you doing, Andrew?
Good. Our internet just cut out, and when it came back, we were on here.
Oh, look at that! Kind of magical, right?
Have to adjust the mustache. It's Movember. That's not a normal.
Oh, yeah.
It's my wife, Tara.
Hi.
Our questions for both of you, or separately, bucket list trips anywhere in the world. What would they be?
I love this question. I love thinking about it, talking about it. We have a couple for next year. One is it's like a tropical island on Superior. I'm not going to say where it is. I don't even know if we're allowed to go there or camp there. We've contacted 2 fly-in outfitters, and neither has responded to us. So I'm kind of thinking it's not like doable, but that is one place we really want to go. It looks, if you look, you can find it on Google Satellite if you really want. It looks like a tropical island in the Bahamas, but it's in Canada, just barely. There's a hint.
Yeah.
But it's
no need for coordinates or anything.
Yeah. Aside from that, Erin's got a couple I know.
Yeah, well, I'd love to do. I've said it before, but the Mackenzie or the Nahanni. My dad did both those when he was a teenager. Actually, he hitchhiked out west and did those with a couple buddies. So I think they're pretty spectacular. I'd love to. Jon's never seen the Northern Lights, which I guess if you're not from Northern Ontario, it's not big of a deal, but. It's been so. I'd love to take him to up north to. I'd love to do a territory trip, Yukon or Nunavut or something. So that would be up there, like some really big trip up there. If it was, and then
if we were going up there, I would do the Nahanni or the Mountain River though.
Yeah.
The Mackenzie is
kind of big and wide and muddy.
It's a bit developed.
Yeah.
It's a bit and just it's like as wide as a lake, right? Yeah. So you don't really have a river feel. I feel like. How about you guys, Andrew, Tara?
We've got a lot of. One area we want to explore more is in Nipigon area. So my dad used to go up for a lot of trips there. He'd do a lot of camping up there. Some of the islands up that way. So that's one area for me, and I think we've talked about quite a bit. It's just getting up there, like you said. We both work too, so vacation. We spend a lot of time driving. It's like a 12, 13-hour drive. So, but yeah, definitely Nipigon would be an area for us.
Like Rosport, kind of those islands on Superior. Is that one of them? Have you guys looked at? that's in that haven't. You should.
Like, I'm not sure what the names of them are, but they'd be like, I think you launch out of, is it Beardmore? Like,
yeah, just north of there, I think.
Somewhere in that area, and then just do some exploring as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's on our radar too.
Yeah.
Just you could do a very long trip around and through the islands of Lake Nipigon. It's massive. It looks like it's got a ton going on. Good fishing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we've gone up to Geraldton before, done a lot of fishing there. We did some pike fishing before. We had the girls just loved exploring those back lakes there. But it's been a few years for sure since we've been able to get up there.
Geraldton's my old stomping grounds. I was there for 4 years, I think. So,
Nice.
familiar with it. There's some really nice areas there, and it's good pike fishing.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Excellent.
Yeah, great to talk to you
guys. We got room for up to 6 people on the panel. If we do get into 7 people, Andrew will probably drop you into the basement if that's the case. But right now we got room for up to 6 people, so don't go away. Marty, how you doing tonight?
Hey, Martin.
Good. Hey, nice to meet you finally. Virtually.
Yeah.
How have things been?
Oh, yeah, these days. Virtual.
Yeah, obviously. Man, I just want to say I really appreciate your channel, you and Erin's and all that. You guys do a really good duet. So first off, and I think people will feel this way, but one of the things that I wanted to ask you, you've been canoeing with a single blade for a long time, and on that last trip, you finally whipped out the double blade, and I think you have a bit of a sentiment feeling like I do with the single blade, like kind of that meditation, and a lot of my friends are asking me if I'm ever going to go to the pack boat style, and I have mixed feelings about it, and I wanted to kind of hear your thoughts on how that went on a trip.
Yeah, it's such a polarizing topic, right? Like, we're not looking at the comments, but I'm sure Kevin Callan's like pissed. Just kidding. I get the sentimental aspect of it. Hey, Matt.
Hey.
I get the sentimental aspect of it for sure, and my preference is a single blade. It's just my damn wrists. I have like carpal tunnel, or I'm seeing a surgeon about it next month actually. So it's bad enough that I have to go see a surgeon. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have done it. But that it's almost a nice thing that it happened. It forced me to do it because it's very efficient. I did that 2-week or that 8-day trip with no wrist pain. It was amazing. Mm-hmm. But I hate it in whitewater. If I'm trying to like do something intricate, like get through a log jam or get into shore and tuck right in there, I don't like it. I like the single blade. But yeah, it's if some curmudgeon tells you that it's no good, then just ignore him.
I'm like you, and I just love the skill of the one blade. It's just like, it's very meditative, and to be able to control a canoe really well with the single blade, there's something to be said about that as well, and the amount of practice it requires. Yeah. But one thing, I just got myself a new otter tail, and it has on it what do you call it, Euro grip. It was my first time trying that grip, and I was just out in Algonquin actually last week, and might as well have been summertime, to be honest. But that grip, I have some problem with my wrist as well, like from so many years of guitar playing and piano and computer nowadays. And it really helped because I could kind of roll it just with some wrist rather than breaking my wrist, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it might be something interesting to look into. I wasn't expecting it. It came, I didn't even know it was going to come with it, and I was super pleasantly surprised, actually. So
yeah,
sticking to the single blade.
Well, you got the pipes for it. I don't lift much, or I've never lifted once. So. I do not leave him.
I'll be honest. I love both. I love the single or the double blade. I find they both have their own place and time, right? If I want to be paddling along tranquil, I'll go to the single blade, whichever canoe I'm using. If I need to get myself moving, then I'll switch back to the double blade, because, like I say, they both have their own time and place, right? But
Well, last weekend in Algonquin, we were 3. So I had my partner with the canoe, well, my canoe partner, but our other friend was in a pack boat. There's no way we can keep up with that, like
Mhm.
zero. Like that thing flies through the water. It's impressive.
Yeah, it was the same when I was out with Joe. When we were heading back to our cars on a big lake, there was a headwind, and I was just like, "Go, just go." He drove like 6 hours for the trip, and I had like a 45-minute drive. So I just told him go ahead because he was so much faster in the wind.
Even more controversial, my mom's a kayaker, so she's always trying to push that on us. Like, get some kayaks. I'm like,
Yeah.
But so even seeing the double blade switch over for John, she's like, yes, he's moving in the right direction. We do Superior, right? Like kayaks would be, there are more
Sea
ideal.
kayak is way better in Superior.
Yeah, so we have that pressure, but the double blade's good enough for now.
yeah. So Matt, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Thanks for jumping up.
No problem. And
Got a-
pleasure
got
to
a
be
question
here.
for Erin?
Yeah. And this one's for Erin, actually. I would like to hear more about your solo trip, your first solo trip, because I recently went on my first solo trip.
Oh,
and
excellent.
I don't know about you, but I was terrified.
Yeah. So I mean, I was interested because I've camped my whole life, but I hadn't been out solo, and I was wondering if that was. I'll start with that. The being scared. I was like, will I be? And typically I'm not nervous at night when we're out camping, but
She's out like a light.
yeah. So I wasn't terrified because like the thought of it kind of creeped in, but I get so tired at night that I literally am just like, oh, maybe then a bear will eat me. Like I'm just like, okay, I sleep then. Like I was lucky I didn't have that. And the couple, once or twice I woke up, and because I listened to a lot of true crime podcasts, had a couple, like more than animals, I was like, oh my God, it would be terrifying to run into a serial killer out here. But then I remembered that I had a machete and was like, oh, we'll see.
I'm way more scared of humans than like if I was walking out a back alley in Toronto, even though I grew up there at night, I would be a lot more on edge than in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Humans are scary.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
But knowing that, there's still that basic instinct, right? That I kind of was wondering if I would have a little bit more being alone. It was a great trip. It was a really nice, easy little loop.
Fenton,
Treeby loop.
Lake Superior Provincial.
Yeah, and it was a really great experience. Like I would like to do more of it when I have the time. Unfortunately, time's so limited, and it's hard. It was hard to convince John to stay home. Like he's like, you're gonna camp without like, and I'm like, I just have that experience. He's like, but why? He's like, no, ever again. But
yeah, it's a rite of passage.
Yeah, I was surprised they hadn't done it yet, but yeah, I don't know about you, but like I really enjoyed it on a different level of just being. We don't, very rarely are we like alone, and I'm pretty introverted. I actually like spending time by myself, but even when we're by ourselves, we have our phone and we're checking in and we're tuned into social media and other things, and just that whole experience, I really did enjoy that, being by myself and doing things just for myself. It's interesting because the work is more than double when you're by yourself. It's so much more efficient when you have a partner. So appreciated that aspect of it, but
it's good medicine.
Yeah.
That time alone. Where was your solo, Matt?
Just went to Algonquin. Super easy. Because I didn't want to do anything. The route I did was kind of a little ambitious, but it was still, I was within a day kind of thing of getting out.
And you absolutely should do that for your solo. Even though, you've tripped plenty, but solo,
it's a different game. Like you were saying, Erin, like you got to do every single thing. And I think everybody
like doing it at your own pace.
Yeah. Like no one realizes it. And when you get to camp, like you're only doing half the stuff. And now that you're alone, you're like, man, I never ever do that.
And then get stuff on. Yeah, it's a whole different experience. How many days did you go out for?
Oh, just 3.
Nice. Yeah.
I should have gone for 4. Like once I came home, it was just like I really would have liked to just stay out there an extra day and just kind of chill and relax, kind of thing. But yeah, it was still a great icebreaker, if you will.
And what was when you said like you had some fears? Was it like at night or like the whole time you were kind of actually? And I'll say now I'm saying that I actually did. There was a couple times on the portages where I was a little bit like that. I was more scared then because I think the likelihood of like startling an animal and being face to face to it around a port. There was a couple times where that more than at night. I kind of had some fear. So I'm interested. What was your experience with that?
I actually had the same kind of fears of like, because every trip I'm on, we're usually talking or something, making noise. But another one of the crew members I brought for Mark in the park, he's done a lot of soloing over the years, and he says anytime I go solo, that's the best animal encounters I have, because I'm not making any noises. I'm not scaring anything. Like you said, you walk around the corner and boom, there it is, and it will just stare at you until you talk, and it'll be like, oh, it's a human, and then it'll run away. So I was just scared to come around the corner, and there's a moose in late September, and it's like, hey, what are you doing here, kind of thing, something like that. But in terms of like fears, I don't know. I was just like procrastinating, and Kevin,
he's alive.
Yeah, I was just like I was procrastinating, and the usual things like, what if I dump? What if I get it? What if I bite off more than I can chew? I get to my campsite and I'm like, I'm not going to make it home tomorrow. What happens then?
Right.
Just dumb things that really I shouldn't have been worried about. But it's like any other person who went on their first tandem trip. They're just like, you just don't know.
Yeah, it's a new world.
Yeah,
You did it the right way, though, Matt. If you went to Algonquin Park, that's where I did my very first solo trip as well. And I did it for the simple reason that, and I don't trip in Algonquin very often because there's too many people.
Yeah.
But that particular time, I did trip in Algonquin because I was hoping there'd be people around in case I run into a problem.
Yep.
Right? There's more of an escape that way than there is if you're doing a very remote trip like Jon did when he did Leave Behind.
Right.
Everybody, leave behind.
Oh.
Everybody.
With a double A.
Before we get a question from Kevin, Erin, or Jon, I wanted to ask you. Okay, you obviously love your craft beers because you have like craft beer, or now this newfound love for Scotch. I don't know if this guy down below me has any influence on that, but but you have this one thing, and I thought it was really cool in your video, Leave Behind. That at the end of the video, your sweetheart next to you brought you a special treat, which was what?
And
and Doritos.
And Doritos. What's with the Dorito fixation? You just like them that much, right?
Oh man, I went through a very late growth spurt, like after high school, and my body wanted carbs so bad. I ate so many Doritos, like my body is mostly comprised of them. Yeah, I ate so many Doritos, and they just filled whatever need I had at that time while my body was growing.
But it's an obsession. Like before we met for the first time, like that was one of his. While we were talking online, like, what's your favorite kind of Dorito? And it was a serious conversation.
Swipe left, right, left.
Yeah. When we met after that trip with Karina and Ryan and Brad and Leah, we were there first, then Karina and Ryan pulled up a couple minutes later, and they hopped out of the truck. And we hadn't met before. We talked online, but we hadn't met. And before anything, he just saw it like in the box of their truck. There was chips, and he's like, chips? What kind of chips you bring? Like, not like, hey, nice to meet you guys. Like, chips? What you guys got there? What are you packing? I'm like, oh, they're so embarrassing.
It's an addiction.
May I suggest crunched up Doritos for your fish batter next time? It's pretty good.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
We tried that, but that
That's really good.
Yeah.
You have to leave some Doritos in the bag for that to happen, all right, Jon? Kevin, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. I was doing really good until I thought, hey, I would just relax and watch the Dennis show, and Erin and Jon are there. Love them to death. This is fantastic. And then I was working late, had a bad day, and all of a sudden the friggin' double blade, single blade comes up.
We forced him to the drink.
Oh, good question, Avid Outdoors guy.
Sorry, Kevin.
What if Erin said Doritos are gross?
So
For me,
They make a good fish batter. That's amazing. Yeah. Marty, like that's good stuff. Yeah.
You'll
They
see
make
that.
a good emergency fire starter too. If you ever,
Yeah. That's scary. Yeah, that's weird. But
Soaked in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
really quick, if anybody in the chat has questions still and you want to post it into the chat, we're going to get them up here on screen. So feel free to post your questions once again in the chat. So, Kevin, you got any questions?
I do, because I know John went to Sanford Fleming and Lindsay. I never taught you, John. I never really remember you were there actually.
No, you wouldn't.
Yes.
I was too shy. Like I recognized you, and I was like, I went up to one of my professors one day. I'm like, holy crap, Kevin Callan's here.
Oh,
And he was like, he teaches here. I'm like, what?
Starstruck.
So I didn't have the guts to talk to you. I walked by you a couple times.
I had to walk through the halls with a baseball cap and sunglasses on. It was embarrassing. So no. So you went through cartography or no GIS? GIS.
Yep, GIS for the cartographic specialist.
Yeah. So who were you favorite instructors during that?
They were all excellent. I don't know if you know them, Lori and Marika and Sean and all of them. They were amazing. That program changed my life.
Well, the cool thing is, so Kevin and what's the other guy? The two techs that work there.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, they're huge fans of your show. Huge. I was there the other day getting equipment. And yeah, they were just, oh, did you see the latest? Oh, that's awesome. That's really awesome. Way to go.
They're awesome guys too. Yeah, they weren't my professors. That's why I didn't include them in my answer, but they were great guys.
Yeah, usually the techs are better than the profs, so they usually know more. Just oh man, that's good.
Yeah, it's new with you, Kevin.
Andy Baxter was over here today, and I got nothing to say. That man is never on time. He was supposed to be here at 10. He showed up at 2.
I have an Andy Baxter in my life too. He's the same way.
Oh,
Has been ever since I went to high school with the guy.
10 minutes, and I'm early for everything, right? So when we go on a canoe trip, I remember our last winter trip, we were supposed to leave at 6 a.m. He showed up at 12:30.
Oh.
Like that's crazy.
Europe?
I would have left without him.
I know, but he's a really nice guy.
Yeah, he looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's a workaholic actually, but yeah, that's my story. Jonathan, so can you tell any points to Pine Martin of how to fish? He has some issues.
Back onto that again, are we?
Yeah. He's having some issues. So if you're going to catch brook trout, name some favorite lures, and not dynamite and line like that. I mean, I could see Pine Martin doing that because that's easy. But like your favorite lures to catch some brookies.
Okay, well, obviously anyone would say an inline spinner. But
whoa! You're talking what the? He would not understand that. You have to explain what the inline.
like a map for blue fox, what have you. But I'll go with something a little different, which is such a basic lure and it's so underused, which is just a jig and a paddle tail, soft plastic paddle tail. There's one jig that I love. It's pretty much. Actually, I use two jigs pretty much primarily. One is made by Northland. It's a flasher jig. It's got like a little spoon blade on the bottom of it, which kicks around almost like a pectoral fin, right? And then so you got action on the front, and then you got then you got action in the back with the paddle tail. Just a jig and a paddle tail. Is that too much? Sorry. Okay, a curly tail, whatever.
I caught a brook trout on a paddle tail last weekend, 2 weekends ago.
There you go. She got
First cast.
We were fishing for pike and walleye, and we had exactly what I just described on. It was actually a large paddle tail in fire tiger, which is like bright colors, and a brook trout, a nice brook trout took it. It was like a solid 2-pounder. So,
it was beautiful.
Yeah, anything is my real point. A jig and paddle tail will catch anything.
Really? Well, that's good.
And used them a lot, and we're pretty successful with them.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite lures, if not my favorite. If I had to pick one lure to fish, that would be it, easily.
Which one?
You can ice fish it with it too, right? Like,
paddle tail.
the other jig I like is a Freedom jig. It's jointed at where the hook meets the head of the jig, so it has like a lot of motion. And anyway,
is that because you're a bit of a hippie?
Yeah.
That's the kind of lure one of my neighbors over here where I live, Charlie Ray. He touts that lure quite often.
Oh yeah. Fishful thinking, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. He lives around the corner from here.
That's another show I grew up on.
I'm gonna just check that question off here.
I got one more question for you, and I'll let everybody else go because I'm on Dennis's show way too much. I have to like wean myself off this. Okay, it's like
it's okay, Vince. Don't worry about it.
No, the Aurora trout video. So that was a really cool video. But could you explain to everybody what that fish is all about and why it was special for you to catch one? Or
yeah, so the Aurora trout, it looks like a brook trout, but it's very rare. It was only really found in a few lakes in Temagami, where a hatchery took some adults, and started a stock population in a what do you call it? Hatchery, thank you. In a hatchery, and now they've populated them in, I don't know, about 12 or so lakes. So it's one of the most rare fish in Ontario. It's one of the most rare trout out there, similar to a tiger trout. Both are quite rare, and mostly the population exists due to stocking. But yeah, it's a spectacular fish, and it was a treat to get to catch one last year.
Cool.
It had like a couple of blue the halos. So it almost looks like a brook trout, but it's a little different. It was really red on the bottom, which brook trout can be as well, but it was distinct. It was a neat fish. But yeah, like I say, they're only stocked in about 13 lakes, so you gotta do a little research, which is not hard with Fish Online. I hope everyone in Ontario is using Fish Online. It's a fantastic resource for finding species.
And they're only open every 4 or 5 years too?
Yeah, so they rotate it. So that lake that I fished, which is only an hour away from us, will not open again for, I think, 3 more years. So I guess they stock them, they let them grow up, and then they open that fishery again.
What was your mark during common semester when you had to do ecosystem skills and you had to do fish ID going back? What was your mark on that test?
I wish I had done that. See, that's why you never taught me, because the GIS program is just a post-grad certificate. It's not part of the common.
Oh, I should have known that. That's right. Wow. Okay. Meaning that you're lying and you really got 0 and didn't want to tell anybody.
What ace for that, man?
You didn't even go to Fleming.
Yeah.
Go here.
Just a fraud.
It's funny. All right, I'm letting you go because Matt down below, he's got lots to say. Like the man doesn't stop talking. Okay.
I don't know about that.
You don't have to go anywhere, Kevin. We got room. Just we got a couple questions in though here from the chat. Actually, Matt here. Yeah, Matt was asking Erin, any more solo trips in the future?
Yeah, for sure. I don't have anything concrete planned. Again, the biggest issue for me right now is just the time management with see you, Kevin.
Kevin.
With school for me, it's really difficult for me to get out. So I have December off from school, like break between semesters. I have April and I have August, and then other than that, like I can get out 1 or 2 weekends in the semester, but it's tough. So planning a solo trip is a little bit difficult because again, convincing Jon to stay at home is not an easy task. Now that we've got a couple boats, though, I think maybe we can split up gear and each go in our own directions, but the time's limited for me to get out. So, well, again, once that's done, then absolutely. But who knows? Like, I think I wouldn't haven't thought that far ahead, but next summer, if the time's permitted, I'd love to do another weekend one. Again, it's just a really unique. It's very different than going out together. So
I'm sure it'll be an annual tradition for her.
yeah, sure.
Yes, Karina. Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Karina wants to know, are you going to do a little comparison this winter? Yeah. Because you just picked up a new G stove yourself when your other one kind of fell apart on you, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a popular topic. That would be a good video.
Yeah.
And yeah, we would love to do that, obviously.
Awesome.
The G stove video I put out, just like a short summary. It's funny what videos do well. Like that one is now just like starting to take off, and it was just a 7-minute video that I didn't put my heart and soul into at all. It's funny what gains traction.
Cool. John, are you up for a mildly political question?
Sure.
I know we don't like discussing politics too much, but somebody had put a question in here because it was based on one of your videos recently. At the end of one of your recent videos, you mentioned that the U.S. election was coming up. From an environmental perspective, what was your reaction to the result?
Whew. I'll be as diplomatic as possible. I think it was favorable for the environment because the president coming in, if he's allowed to, by the incumbent, he wants to get back into the Paris Accord, and he has a better grasp of the big picture, in my opinion. But anyway, we all live in a great couple of countries here, Canada and the U.S. We're very blessed and lucky, regardless of if you like the politician in power. So either way, we're all super lucky, and I think it was a win for the environment, in my opinion.
Yeah, can I give a quick?
Please.
Like from my perspective, and again, like I don't think it's super political to say, and maybe it is, but if we're looking at an environmental perspective, one, like Donald Trump, who was voted out, doesn't believe in climate change. He thinks it's a hoax, and one at least accepts it as a fact. So that is if you're, from our perspective, that's something that we believe is real, and we believe it's man-made, and that humans have an impact on the environment. So from that perspective, not getting into any of the other stuff, I think it's a win, right? Just one denies it. He flatted that's his policy is that it's not an issue, and the other one at least accepts it as a reality. So I think it's a win that way.
It's no secret I have a bit of an environmental agenda in the channel, but I've given up trying to convince anyone of climate change. If you don't believe it, that's fine. I don't care. You don't or you do at this point. What is a fact is overpopulation. So that's really what I'm trying to stick to more. We have 8 billion people on this earth pooping, burning stuff, eating stuff. Like that's a reality that I think most people can grasp. So that's what I'm more home in on now.
Yeah, and whether or not you believe in climate change, I think it's a pretty accepted fact that we do have an impact on the environment, whether it's climate change or it's farming and other things that, again, not all of them are bad, but they do have an effect, right? So having a administration wherever it is, but the U.S. is a big country, so that just accepts that and wants to at least have a conversation about ways that we can move towards being more responsible and looking after our planet, I think is beneficial.
Anyone watching this knows how precious wilderness is and like how much it means to you personally. Like we can't let that go. If we look back in time, we only get less wild. Every day we lose wilderness. And the thought of a future without wilderness is just like flat out depressing.
That is a scary thought.
I think it really shows like this summer too, how the big garbage increase in the wilderness has really taken a hit on all of us who are used to these places being pristine, and then you come in, you're like, oh wow, like how like one can upset you.
Yeah.
Out there.
And Matt, with that being said, Matt, in your last video with the trip you and your brother there, what was with all the clothes you found on the middle of that portage? Was that maybe like a bear dragged it out there or something? Or
no, it was like we were going uphill, steady kind of thing, and then it leveled off for maybe 5 meters, and then kept on going up. So it's a great rest spot. So somebody took a break there. We kind of thought that maybe somebody pitched a tent there for some reason. Don't know, but why there was like a a single battery there, and
Right.
underwear, socks that were folded, like they weren't undone, kind of thing.
Wait, is it possible that it was someone was unloading? Like was it a hard incline that they were like, my pack's too heavy and I want to lose weight?
Maybe.
I don't know. Like, I don't know how else you would.
Everything but the Doritos.
We gotta eat the Doritos. We gotta cut weight.
But yeah, it was very weird. Like we were just standing there in the middle of the woods, and there was almost a full outfit of clothing there, and you're like, okay, like looking around, like slowly, like, do I want to find more? Do I not want to find more?
Sounds like an episode of Forensic Files or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But
like,
regardless, why would that person just leave it there? Why wouldn't you pick it up? Like it's not unless they had it maybe on top of a pack or something for some reason that fell off.
It was like probably 10, 20 meters off of the portage. And my brother spotted it way over there, and he like went over and like, what the heck, kind of thing. It wasn't on the portage. So
Erin asked if you kept anything.
Any keepers? Find any good stuff in there?
it was all wet, and like, who wants to bring home underwear? I mean, like, it was good quality underwear, but who knows? Maybe underwear and the
you usually wear at the end of the trip, anyways, right?
One of the things, like on that topic of just like garbage and stuff that it's hard because it depends on the trip. Like lots of our trips will find stuff and it's just not realistic to pack it out. But if I try and encourage people, like if you see a can, pick it up. I think there's always going to be jerks out there who leave their stuff or just are inconsiderate, but I think we can make a big difference by just leaving it. This is something John likes, but like leaving it a little better than he found it, right? So on our last trip, we were just out for a night, and on our way home, we didn't have any ports or anything left. We found like someone had lost their big like inflatable boat, one of those and it was just deflated on the riverbank. So we were able to. We didn't have any portages or anything, so we were able to grab that, and that was nice because often we'll come across stuff like that, and we're not going to carry that for a couple of days. But I think that's a good message too, as opposed to just being like, I don't know, you can be frustrated with all the people that are negligent, but also kind of just trying to encourage, like, just be thoughtful and make a difference that way too.
Yeah, similar to trying to convince people about climate change. I no longer try to convince people who want to litter not to. You try and inspire the people who are cleaning up, because those people who care, like, I'll yell.
I'll yell.
Yells.
Yell.
You die.
So Serge has a good question here, and this is a question that everybody that's on the panel tonight can actually answer this if you like. If you're used to doing this, we'll start with John. So what's your feedback on talking to yourself on a video when you're alone?
Yeah, I don't know. It's fun. It's funny. You gotta vocalize things sometimes, and when you're alone, at least for me, I just get a little silly sometimes. Yeah, I'm not really a silly person. I'm more of a serious person, but it brings it out of me for some reason. What about you?
Well, he also spends a lot of time practicing it. Like, spending a good several minutes every morning. 10, 15 minutes of. No, I'm just kidding.
Hollywood.
Yeah, he practices his jokes.
In front of the mirror.
You got to get that Hollywood YouTube face going.
You need Dennis's mirror to do that.
Yeah.
Mirror, whatever.
Yeah. No, and that was something that was new to me. I think just like having fun with it, and it's actually interesting. And as on the solo trip, it's an interesting dynamic too, which I'm sure any of you guys have done it. It's kind of fun to share and talk to, and it sounds a little crazy because you're alone, but then you're like, oh, I'm like sharing and explaining what I'm going through as opposed to just like internal monologue. So it's kind of fun to look at it through that lens of like, what I want to share.
The temporal gap there, but you're talking to someone when you're talking to the camera, just it's delayed.
I went on my first solo camping trip this year, and I found it a little bit distracting in a good way to talk to yourself. YouTube recommended the night before I went out on the trip your video of like a bear or something running around outside your tent. I don't think you ever figured out what it was, but I'm like, that's the worst video I think it could have recommended for me the night before. but yeah, just talking to myself, it was weird, and still is kind of weird. But I think there's something kind of calming about it in that sense too, like distracting almost.
I feel like especially with my solo trip, like coming around a corner talking to myself, like to the GoPro or something, I was just always worried that somebody was just going to be there and hear me talking to myself and be like, who is that guy? Like, what is he doing? Kind of thing. So
keep this moment.
Yeah. It's so, I'm a YouTuber. It's like the game, you know?
Yeah. I've been caught singing in the backcountry as well. Marty, what about you?
Well, man, first of all, it gets easier. That's the first thing I tell everybody that starts doing that. It does easier. I find it I'm way more self-conscious when I have to do it when there's a ton of people around.
Yeah.
And when I'm alone as well, right? So doing it when you're solo or when you're secluded somewhere else is a lot easier. But I do a lot of talking head videos on my channel, like gear reviews or whatever I'll do, and that also over time, like it's been a year where I've consistently been posting weekly, and it just gets better. It just like you figure out your taglines or whatever it is, and it's weird at first, but it gets better. You got to do it.
I think it's like people who don't know how to shoot stuff, like how to videotape stuff. You just have to do it and edit it and be like, I didn't need to say that.
Yeah.
But maybe I should have said that. And then when you go out the next time, you know, and then you can do it.
And you're like, what's wrong with my hands? Why are they moving all the time?
I have my sister, after my solo video, my sister was like, it was really good, but one thing is like, you have these weird inflections at the end of your sentences all the time. She's like, I swear to God, it's like the episode of The Office where Michael's like, I don't know how to control my voice. No, I'm not. I can't see it. But I'm like, do I talk like that? And she's like, no. But on YouTube, and even sometimes with our videos with John, she was like, more in your solo one. Like, I don't know, at the end, she's like, I don't know why. Just at the end, you like go way up in your volume. And I'm like, oh, shoot.
My wife refuses to watch my videos. She hates looking at them.
I just hate listening to myself on my videos because it's like, do I really sound like that?
Yeah.
And that's probably my biggest own critic for picking out the and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
With John does a lot of like all the editing, and so it's often just upstairs in the office, and I'm like, I always just hear myself in the background. I'm just like doing my stuff, and I'm like, is that me? I'm like, I hope not. No, it is.
It's no one likes themselves hearing themselves.
And you get used to that too. Like just accepting too that I'm like, you might not like the sound of your voice, but everyone else hears it. Everyone else is used to it. It might be new to you, but you just learn to become less self-conscious of those things, I think.
It's one of those things, you're noticing it more than anyone else will care. What's going on, Karina?
Hi, Karina.
Hey.
Welcome to the stream. Haven't seen you in quite a while.
Nice to meet
I
you.
know.
Hey, Grizz, how you doing, buddy?
Yep, got Grizz going here.
Welcome to the show.
Hey, Chris.
So, Karina, do you have any questions for Erin and John tonight?
Not questions per se. Actually, kind of already answered mine.
I have a question for Karina. How do I get to 100K subs?
Ooh.
Yeah, congratulations. That's awesome.
Congrats.
Thanks, guys. A lot of patience. Yeah, no, it's crazy. I actually didn't think I was going to hit it so well. Actually, I thought I was going to hit it sooner, and then COVID hit in the spring. And then everything really slowed down. And then all of a sudden, like one video did pretty well in August, and it just shot up from there. So I'll take it.
Yeah. Which video was that again?
Algorithm God.
Was it
It was
in the shelter?
Yeah, it was just like a tarp shelter. I got a new tarp, and I wanted to try it out and try out a new setup, and yeah.
Everybody relates to it, dog, shelter, like, forest.
The basics.
People can relate to it.
Yeah.
I made a video and it blew up. I was like, whoa, the 4 comments. I'm like, what was that?
It's so random. It's hard to understand sometimes, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you understand it. You just got to accept the outcome and acknowledge what people like and don't like.
Yeah, it's true. And a lot of so I actually was thinking about it because I was like, what is so special about this? I went out for like a couple of hours. It took me a couple hours to shoot that video, but like, this is the kind of thing that people do when they do go outside. They don't always have those like big epic trips. They go out and they set up a park for the day and they cook lunch. And so maybe it's that.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard to break through because there are more and more YouTubers every day. And our genre is pretty saturated.
Very.
There are a lot of us, which is great for me because I'm a huge viewer of our genre as well. And there's never enough. So I'm happy.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Actually, when you talk about that and content creators, John, I know you and we just joined a Facebook group.
Marty's group.
Yeah. Oh, ding! Light bulb overhead. Shit. But yeah, no, this YouTube or content creators Facebook page. For anybody that might be a YouTube content creator out there, and you're interested in something like this, where you can communicate with like-minded people and people that are doing the same thing, check it out. Marty, go ahead, give us a spiel on it.
Yeah, I totally stole the idea for the backpacking niche. So when I started my whole YouTube journey back in January of 2020, I wasn't really niched down. Like I was just doing a bunch of different things, and then I got involved a lot in the backpacking community. And then they have a backpacking creator Facebook page, and it's such a good place for everybody to first to meet each other, collaborate, to shout out each other, to ask very technical questions like, hey, what does this statistic mean? Can anybody help me out with this? Is anybody seeing slowing down in the views? Whatever it might be, right? And it's been super beneficial for the group, in my opinion, at least. I've made a lot of really good connection within that niche. So I figured I didn't find anything similar with the paddling world, and I figured, well, let's put something together. So I reached out to Dennis, I reached out to John, and I said, would you guys help me out? Just to be administrators with me and reach out and invite a bunch of creators. So I think we're 10 or 12 in there right now. But the more we can be and the more we can engage in conversation, it's been like, I've learned, like, a lot of times people will like put two different thumbnails. John was saying, like, sometimes the thumbnails make a big difference, and then they'll put a vote and people will kind of help you take those things out. It's been super beneficial. So I totally stole it. So if you're a content creator out there, it's called Paddling Content Creators. I think that's what, Paddling Content Creators. I didn't want it to be only for YouTubers. If you're a blogger out there or anything like that, go ahead and join. I think the more we can network, the better it's going to be for all of us, and it gives us opportunity to collaborate as well, find people in the area. And I'm hoping one day, once this whole pandemic is done, the next step would be to have kind of a content creator meetup somewhere. We're not going to tell anybody, but where we could all meet and kind of finally like do maybe a canoe trip somewhere and just all meet up and have a good time. And there's a lot of ideas from the backpacking world. I'm totally stealing it. I'm not that innovative.
Well, you know what? Maybe we could do a meet and greet like that at the Madawaska Canoe Center. I want to be about setting up like a week-long course there or something, and have just a whole bunch of us go out there and turn it into a.
Well, something I also was talking about in one of my previous videos was about like safety out there, and perhaps some of the responsibilities that I don't know if we have or not as content creators, but we could even organize some first aid, wilderness first aid for the first responders, for the people that are interested and that kind of stuff. So it's just a cool place, and the canoeing niche. Sorry, my French coming out sometimes. The canoeing niche is so Ontario based. Like the vast majority of people, like there's so much of us in Ontario because it's the capital of the world almost. For canoeing, so it's kind of neat because we're fairly close to each other. Like nobody is living out in, like the vast majority is all together. So it's a possibility to meet up.
Yeah, I sometimes liken the surfboard to California. Like the canoe is that to Ontario, right? Like it's iconic to us. It's a symbol.
Yeah. No, thanks for starting that group, though, Martin. It's a good group. I think it'll be a beneficial thing to anybody that is a content creator out there in the chat tonight. If you're interested in becoming part of the group, feel free to drop me an email at canoehound@gmail.com, and I'd be more than happy to invite you. I just, or better yet, message me through Facebook. Would probably be the best way to do it, and that way there I could just pop an invitation your way, and feel free to join up. It'd be a good one. There we go. Karina's got it on screen.
I took a picture, but it's not me in the picture.
I do, yeah.
You got the glowing green orb that.
I call it the laser, the sniper laser.
Yeah. John and Matt, somebody had asked earlier here in the chat there if you two are brothers. I don't think so, huh?
Oh yeah.
Close different mothers, yeah.
You know what's funny? I just like a couple seconds ago, like looked down and looked up quickly, and was like, "When did John put on glasses?" I'm like,
and where did I go? And where did I go?
Like, I don't think he's been wearing those all night. Wait, where am I?
I never thought of it. Are you Dutch or Irish?
Not sure. I think my dad did one of those ancestry DNA test things, and I think it was completely different than what we thought, but somewhere in Europe. I do have like a very red beard, so I could be Irish.
So I got to ask here. A couple shows ago, we had the Project Canoe was on the show. And I believe almost everybody here on screen has actually done the canoe flip challenge, right? Is everybody?
I'm working on it.
It's not too late.
I thought you had to be tagged for those, so I was just waiting.
Marty, I challenge you. And I know Karina's working on it, so. Hey, it's never too late. Never too late. John, I seen your video. I thought to myself, he says, "Yeah, I'm going to donate $100 a flip," and I go, "What the hell is this guy doing for a living? You can donate Pretty ambitious, though.
No, there's never pressure with this stuff. Like if you can't do it, if you don't want to, I'm not really the type to like tag people and say, you know, hey, do this, because it puts this pressure on people. Usually we're more the type to just open it up. In this case, I did challenge people like Andrew, but yeah, because it's a great initiative. Gets kids canoeing.
It is really. And you know what? I think they're doing pretty well by this. Like probably not as good as they hope to do, but you know what? Anything could help. I was pretty impressed by what Novacraft Canoe did actually by donating a canoe to them. That was incredible.
That's pretty cool.
That hit right here. It hit right here.
Right in the feels.
Yep. Wow. What do we got here? Anybody got any questions in the chat? Feel free to pop them up. We could actually, we can get up to 10 people on the screen, but it'll be a little bit small. I don't know if anybody else wants to pop up. I don't know if Uncle Kevin's still around or not, but
I mean, we gotta do the social distancing too. So
yeah, okay. So let's. There we go.
I may have a last question for Jon and Erin. You guys like to read a lot, at least in your trip. You guys always read books, and I just got finished my last book, and I was thinking, because you guys were talking, a lot of the books you read are about canoe adventures and all that. Do you have like a recommendation? I just finished my last book, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I believe Sir Kevin Callan is still around. If you haven't read some of his books, you definitely should. Ontario's Lost Canoers.
That's the one I just finished.
That's the one for me.
The one I just finished.
Adam Schultz comes to mind. Alone Against the North, Beyond the Trees. Those are just like, yeah, I love those ones. And I have a list on my Amazon storefront, which is linked in my videos. Not a plug. I'm just saying it's a list of books you can read in this genre.
Yeah, like in that genre, Adam Schultz stuff is really good. I like darker themed books, history based stuff, true crime history. So don't know if it's up your alley, but like some of my favorites are The Book Thief is a really good one. Kite Runner.
It's not the genre though.
No, it's not the genre. We're stepping outside the genre. If you're just looking for good books, Tattooer of All they're all ones that I've read kind of the Stalling for Time was a really good one. It's written by a lead hostage negotiator for the FBI, and he was really developed the hostage negotiation program. That one I read in quite a go, and I zipped through. But it might not be it's not the canoe route genre.
Yeah.
Sean's better for that. That's good.
You guys have any? Yeah, it's my obsession.
Yeah.
You guys have any?
Book wise?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm a real fan of Hap Wilson's work.
He's on my list. Yeah, River of Fire, I gotta read.
Yeah. Actually, years ago, his Temagami book was almost like my Bible for many years. So much so that I think of the 23 routes he did in there. I probably did a good 17 or 18 of the routes. The only ones I couldn't do were the ones that were 12, 14, 21, 28 days long, right? So
I just picked up Paddle the Amazon. I haven't started it yet, but I think that's one of the books I saw in one of your videos a couple months ago, maybe a couple years ago. But you haven't started it yet. That's on the list for next up.
So good.
Is it? Yeah.
Boyden is a really good Indigenous writer who has some good stuff. He had some Canarese books that I really like that are more kind of on topic. He has 3 Day Roads, one of my favorite books actually, by him, and it's really interesting. And yet it still has that dark history piece. It's about 2 Canadian Indigenous men. It's fiction, but who went and fought in, I believe it was World War II, and ended up being snipers. But it splits back and forth, and it always cuts back to their life growing up as in the bush, and those skills and how those end up being beneficial to them fighting in the war. And then it also kind of ties in some interesting politics of them fighting for this country that doesn't even accept them as citizens type thing. And so still kind of political, controversial, a little bit dark, but it has some good outdoor Canadian wilderness stuff. That's my plug.
You're really good at
the list now.
Yeah. I just like books.
Yeah.
I mean, Lord of the Rings is a great adventure book if you've never heard of it.
They were huge doors. Yeah. The problem. There are a lot of good books that are too thick to bring in the backcountry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, one book I wouldn't mind getting off you, John, was the one that you had in one of your videos about weather patterns or learning how to read the weather. That sounded like a cool book.
It was. Just a little pocket book. You can even bring it with you.
Cool.
It was cool.
I've got a couple more questions here in the chat. Just really quick, I just posted in there the link to the Paddling Content Creators Facebook page for anybody. A couple of people I seen were asking about it, so I just finished posting that in there. Jay Gordon here is asking, what's it like going on a trip with another YouTuber?
Well, it was awesome because no, it was great because you can relate to each other so much, and as opposed to going with someone who doesn't do it, your filming isn't an obstruction to the trip.
Yeah,
you're all doing it, and you're all on that timeline, right? Plus, you can commiserate and talk about all the painful stuff, like the awful things people say to you, and just kind of realize that if people say it we all get it, so we all get a little bit of that. So, yeah.
I think it's cool how you. I've never been with any with any of you guys, which maybe someday in the future would be awesome. But when you hit moments of adversity, most people put their heads down and just want to get through it. Whereas us, we would all be like, "Oh," and then get up the camera. Okay, tell me what you're thinking about here right now, because this is some good stuff.
I have a story about this. So, on our winter trip, when Erin cut her finger, I'm standing there holding the light so everyone can see what's happening, and Brad's stitching her up, and at one point Brad finally looked up and was like, "Oh, I thought you were filming," and I was right in there on top of each other. He's like, "Wow, she's really right in there filming."
Yeah. The cameras. there with the lights so that you could see what he's doing, and she's with her GoPro, like
I was.
Yeah, that's
one of my favorite, like, I think clips of all time is from our Canoe of Our Own when I'm waist deep in the ice and John goes, "Wait, hold up," because he wants to change his camera angle.
Nice.
Really? Like he's
Really?
in the canoe.
I've never seen
Anything from the shot.
That's the priority. But in hindsight, I'd be pretty. It'd be
just
disappointing if we didn't have that on film, right? Like if we just had to tell people that I waded through ice, we were like, yeah, sure, it was probably, So it's a funny experience having that, and being with other YouTubers. Yeah, it is fun to kind of get to, because it is, and even for me, it was an adjustment, to be honest. Tripping with Jon, and that actually was something that it adds to it in a lot of ways. Where I find it adds more than it takes away. Where I'm looking for, I notice things in different ways, right? Like I'm looking, well, what part of this do I want to share? I absorb it in different ways of thinking about filming. But there are times where every time we get in the boat, it's like, don't cast until the camera's set up because you don't want to get a big fish and not be ready for it. And it's a lot more gear. There's some things that do take some adjusting to. It definitely changes the nature of the trip, and to a point where, like, I love it, and it adds a lot. But I could imagine so it's nice. But when you're kind of collaborating or bringing other people out, having other people that do that and understand that piece of it is nice, as opposed to having to have people be like, oh, the camera.
I think Jon hit home. Like, it's when he said it's a lot easier to film. Like, I used to go out with people that, like, the first few times when I would film and I would go out with people that didn't film, I realized that I wasn't explicit enough as to what that would mean. Like, what that would mean that I'm filming. It slows us down. It's sometimes I need quiet because I want the sound of the campfire. Sometimes, you know what I mean? So it's a lot easier when you go out with other YouTubers. You don't feel bad. Just like, quiet. Yeah. Everybody's like, okay.
Quiet on the set.
Yeah. We get that answer.
So John,
now.
John, do you find when you're out there, do you get the shot more often than you miss the shot? And what I mean by that, like, I always have this trouble where it's like I'm paddling along and I'll see an animal or something, or like, say a gray herring or something will be getting ready to take off. And it's like I'm fumbling, right? Even though I got my camera ready, I miss the shot more often than I get the shot. How is it with you?
I'm pretty hyper conscious of the camera. So I don't know. I feel like I probably get it more often than not, but at the expense of the moment sometimes, right?
Yeah. Like there was a time, actually, I don't think I've ever shared this with you, but on our Canoe of Our Own video, where we were paddling and we saw a moose, and I was a little bit frustrated because he has the zoom, and so he wanted to get the shot, but what it meant was he got the shot using the zoom and got a good shot of a moose, but it noticed us before we got close. So, and that was still early on. That was only our second canoe trip together. We've done some other filming, but and that doesn't happen often. We usually get but every once in a while there's times where it's like trying to get the shot, but it's kind of like we could be quiet and try and get close to this moose and get a good actual in-person view of it. But then instead, like, hey, we're gonna stop, we're gonna try and get the shot and zoom in and capture that, and then if it happens to stay around long enough, we'll creep up. And that time it didn't happen, and I was kind of like,
that's very true.
What?
Yeah, because you want to, when you have lots of zoom, you want to get the shot before the animal potentially goes away and you get no shot, right? So you kind of prioritize that.
But that was not fun. We usually sneak up on them. But there's times where, sometimes it does, but more often than not, it doesn't take away from it. You're back.
Where'd you go?
I find, Dennis, what you said, where you're like the one where we do miss them a lot is birds, because you'll half the time we're like, okay, we're not even going to bother because it's going to move. And then you're like, oh, but it's sitting so still. And then as soon as you're set up, it sits still the whole time. And then you're just, as you're about to hit click, it's like, Pew.
Yeah, you get the lock on the bird, and then
that's loons. Every time you record a loon, it's just like, whoop, I'm going under. And you're like, really? I took the time to turn on my camera.
See, I run into a situation like that when I did my big trip this year. for the first time in probably like the last 5-6 years, we finally seen a large mammal. Okay.
Yeah.
And it happened to be a black bear swimming across this little narrow waterway. So what happened was we just come out of a major hailstorm, thunderstorm, like some of the worst weather I've ever had on a canoe trip. And so obviously all my gear's away and I'm unprepared for it, right? Except for my GoPro, which I had mounted on my thing, but of course it didn't want to turn on when I wanted it to. Voice command. It's like, you don't want to be barking voice commands at it, right? Because you're going to scare the animal away while it was swimming anyways. But I finally got footage of it, but it was really shitty. Because I was fumbling and I'm holding over my buddy, the camera on the mount, trying to get over top of him. It's like, but at least I captured it, right? So,
yeah, getting something is key.
Better than nothing.
Yeah,
that's when having a real nice DSLR with some kind of zoom helps as well. Because I shoot most of my stuff on my iPhone 11, and at least I do 4K, so I can zoom in to 1080. Like I can double zoom, which you can get some closer, but yeah. But then it's just so convenient. It's just so convenient to carry around. And it can be dunked. Like it doesn't matter if if it falls over.
Yeah.
We went on a trip to Algonquin this summer, and we got like the worst video of a bull moose from the car while driving.
I got
Yeah,
worst
was it? Good enough to still use. I'm backpedaling now. We ended up making a joke out of it and saying like, it's not you're not on Highway 60 until you see like 15 cars pull off on the side of the road with people. There's a moose nearby. So we salvaged the video, made a bit of a joke about it, but yeah, it was pretty funny.
Moose jam.
Moose jam.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So, question for Marty over here, from Mark and the other guy in the canoe. He's from Quebec as well. And why is it that you choose to mostly trip in Ontario?
So mainly because, to be honest, I live on the Quebec side, but just next to Ottawa, right? So I'm dead center between the wildlife reserve of Parc-la-Vérendrye in Quebec, which is a phenomenal place for canoe camping as well. And what's neat about it is that portages are like a few hundred meters. You'll never hit a 1,500 meter portage in wildlife reserve of Parc-la-Vérendrye, so that's nice. But I'm equally far from Algonquin Park. So when I go out because I have, for the people that know, I have like a 7 and 8 year old, I have 2 girls. And so when we trip, I go to La Vérendrye because there's way less portaging to do. And it's easier on me. And then when I go out with Pierre-Antoine from Outdoor Therapy, my canoe partner, we typically try to explore more of the Algonquin Park. And but in the past, before I started to do all these videos, I did often La Rivière Noire, the Black River, which is right next to La Dumoine, and the other one, it's the Three Sisters there. One. Anyways, but the Black River is a really neat one that I've done multiple times. And I've done the Red River, La Rivière Rouge as well, quite a few times, which is also super fun. Those are all in Quebec. It's just ever since I started to shoot, for whatever reason, I'm always on the other side. But not canoe related, this summer I went to the Saguenay Fjords for a sea kayaking trip. That was insane. That was through the roof insane. Definitely worth paddling the fjords out there. And we were paddling with belugas. I mean, I had a beluga paddle like I said to a beluga's eye underneath. I was scared shit, man. Sorry for my language, but I was, for a sec there, I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty small right now. And I missed the shot.
Oh, sorry. Did anyone see, I just saw on Facebook like this last week of sea kayakers actually got
Yeah, I watched that on repeat like 10 times. I'm like, it's fake. It's fake. It's not fake.
That was wild. That's my biggest fear. I hate the ocean. I don't hate the ocean. I've spent time on it, but it scares the shit out of me. I feel like, to get through language, I feel like, so I spent some time in New Zealand, and when I was there, people would always ask about outdoors. Aren't you scared of bears and wolves and all these other and cougars? And I'm like, no, like it just doesn't faze me. They're out there, but they're probably not going to harm us. But I feel that way about the ocean. I'm like sharks and whales and giant squid, and you don't know. But I hate ocean, and even like Superior sometimes. Like obviously I have the healthy fear of the waves, but sometimes when it's like I get these creepy feelings that I'm like a shark could be there. It's just big enough that they like would. And anyway, sorry, but when you were saying that about the paddling with the belugas, I was like,
yeah,
it's scary.
It's something else.
It's close to you, eh?
Yeah. So, John, what's it like the trip with a wood processing beast like Erin? She straight gets it done.
Amazing. Amazing. I just kick my feet up and let her go. But we had to compromise. I had to compromise on this axe. Like, it's a nice axe. It's a new splitting axe. I just wanted something to get the job done, and she wanted this fancy Swedish one. But I figured she deserves it because she, she loves doing it, and I love that she does it. So, well.
Erin, is there a certain type of wood that you like cutting the most?
Well, that's a good question.
We don't have many options here.
I mean, like I love cedar, right? Because you get out of all of them, I find it the most fragrant. You can often tell like cedars usually smell pretty good, and it's a nice soft wood. It's easy to cut through.
Easy to process. Lowest BTUs, pretty much.
BTUs, yeah.
Horrible, but yeah, it smells really nice. Crackling burn.
It's a nice one to
crackle.
Yeah. Amazing kindling.
Yeah, great kindling burn on a campfire. It's not as good for the hot tent like winter stove for burning, but for processing, it's a nice one because it's it usually processes pretty well. Birch is terrible. We learned because it's hard to find. What we learned is the bark actually, like once a birch dies, it
hermetically sealed.
Yeah, it seals it, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't season on its own; it'll just rot. So it doesn't chop. It's usually either just super dense and then it doesn't burn well.
Unless you can find a birch that's like on the side of a bank and the bark's all falling off, kind of thing. That's really good stuff if you can find that stuff.
Yeah.
If you cut birch green and let it season, you can burn it for sure. But to find it in the bush, it's a waste of time.
Yeah. So we learned that the hard way. We don't have a lot of good. We get that a lot, like with the hot temp videos. People are like, "Oh, burn hardwoods. They have way better like BTU. They won't give you the creosote, all that." We're like, "Yeah, we know, but we don't have a lot of them here."
Boreal forest, you got trembling aspen and birch. Basically, those are your hardwoods, and they're not much good. The ideal species for burning here is jack pine, if you can find it.
Yep.
And then often we're just using spruce and fir.
Yeah, whatever. Yep.
Mm-hmm. You know what I just noticed? We're like we're almost 9:15. We're like 15 minutes into overtime. Are you guys? Is everybody good to stay on till about 9:30?
Yeah.
We'll grab a few more questions. Okay, cool. Let's see here. What do we got here? Island Man wants to know, John, what's your favorite fish to eat?
Ooh, good question.
Hey, Island Man.
Doritos.
Burrito fish.
And I had a little rainbow trout on the south end of the Steel a couple months ago that was just like mind blowing. One of the best fish I've ever eaten. I like trout in general with like salmon spice or Tex-Mex. Yeah, even Erin liked it.
Late summer walleye. What's your strategy?
Hey, Kevin. I don't know. It depends where I am, at like lake or a river, but I guess if I'm speaking broadly, can't go wrong with the edge of a weed bed. That's probably where I would start. I don't fish too deep. Like you might, depending on where you are in the summer, you might want to fish deeper, but because of barotrauma, where if fish gets brought up from the depths and you plan to release it, barotrauma, similar to what scuba divers can experience, that can really damage or kill the fish. Their organs can protrude through their body because of their swim bladder expanding. So I don't go too deep for them. So I'll probably just go, I would say like edge of weed beds. Can't go wrong.
Cool.
But it depends on some factors too.
Blake, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. The wrong one there. Here we go. Kelly's asking, what video editing software do you guys use? Let's see. Let's go around the table on this one. John?
It's embarrassing. So If I need to do something more complex, I'll use DaVinci Resolve. But then what I use for my timeline editor is just Windows Movie Maker. So if I want to do something complex, I do it in DaVinci Resolve, and then I just export it, and then I bring it into my timeline editor because it's so efficient and easy. Like I pump out tons of videos, right? Like I'm basically the spammer of YouTube because we're out a lot, and I have an efficient workflow, and that's how I do it. If I had to edit 100% in like a professional editing software, it would be very slow.
And I get asked that, like some people ask me, they're always say, well, what does John use? And thinking, and I'm like, no, like his primary one is the Windows Movie Maker. It's just one that comes with your computer, which I think is, I don't think it's embarrassing. I think it's great and encouraging for anyone who's interested in getting into this. Because like John said earlier, if you're interested in kind of starting YouTube, I think it's really important to kind of walk before you run, but knowing that you don't have to invest in expensive software and learn all this like intricate stuff, and you don't necessarily need all the big fancy cameras. And I think that's great, and for the software part too, that it can be that user friendly and
simple,
inexpensive and simple. I think is.
Plus, you don't want to over edit nature.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
How about you, Andrew?
It's not a high tech channel. Go ahead.
When I was on using a PC, I was using Sony Vegas, and then Tara got me onto a Mac a couple years ago, and from there I got Final Cut Pro X. Took me a long time. When you're very like competent in one type of software, and then you switch to another one, it's really discouraging at first. But now I'm really comfortable with it. I love it. I can't see myself using anything else. I think the second part of the question said something about other tools. The only other tool that I use is TubeBuddy. So recently, that you can download it for free. So I downloaded that, and you can like search different keywords and see what's trending and where they would rank. So I've been exploring that a little bit more too.
Can you try thumbnail alternatives in that?
Yeah, I think if you pay for it, then there's the option to do A/B testing for thumbnails. But I don't have the paid version, but I believe that's an option in the paid one for sure.
Same thing with vidIQ.
Yeah.
And Marty, which software are you using?
So I'm actually like all in a box of like the iOS platform. So I shoot everything off my iPhone 11, and then from there I airdrop everything to my iPad. And I did for the better part of the Adobe Rush. It's garbage. Scrap that. Don't ever buy it. It crashes all the time, and it's so much work. It would take me hours to edit, and then eventually my buddy found out about LumaFusion, and it's changed. Like it would take me 10 hours to edit. It took me 2.5 to 3 now. Like just from the lack of crashing and how it processes. So now I'm all in what they call LumaFusion. It's about $40. You buy it once. Adobe Rush, the subscription, like it's like $15 a month I had to pay. And at the end of the day, man, LumaFusion, it does everything from speed ramping to FX keyframe work. It's actually pretty interesting. And one of like we all said, like you don't want to get too caught up in all the tools and the specifics. A lot of it is about learning how to tell your story and how to master the camera, right? So whatever you have, whether it's a movie maker, there's so much to learn before you should be stepping up anyways.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Matt, let's hear from the
just to keep you guys know I work in TV, so
Final Cut.
Final Cut, yeah, is my main one. But I've worked in like Avid, Premiere, the old Final Cuts, that kind of thing. iMovie, Movie Maker, all the same stuff. Like to go off of you, Marty. Like in the end, no one like when you watch something, you don't know what it's edited in unless you see some built-in effect. You're like, I know what that is. Yep.
Or their stock music.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know what it's edited in, and I think that's if you can get to that point where you can create content and people are mysterious of what you're using, then you've created good content. Like if you're so focused on your editing software and the gear you have, It doesn't matter how stellar your picture look. It's people aren't going to watch it because it's not going to be interesting, kind of thing. So I'm a diehard Mac person and Final Cut person, but that's just because I know it and I'm fastest in it, and that's just how it is. So, and I never talk anybody down, but I'm impressed that they still have Movie Maker on computers, and it's still like.
I had
Is that Windows 98
website just to find a version of it. Yeah, I probably got tired.
Hey, Karina, what kind of software are you using?
I'm pretty hardcore DaVinci Resolve. I've been using it for probably 2 years now, and I really, really like it. I'm really fast on it. I'm super efficient.
Did you see that 17 just came out?
No, I didn't. I've just been using the free version, so I don't know if that has anything to do with anything.
No, it's just a new software update. Like it's the newest version that came out. Yeah, new features and stuff.
Oh,
yeah, fancy.
I'm the only one on panel here using Filmora. I was using iMovie for the longest time until my Mac, which is right here. It has a wonderful fate coming to it very soon. I switched back over to PC here, which I'm using here now, and I tried using DaVinci, and I just found it was too much. Like it's like very. You could tell it's higher end because it's got so many features, and it's too much of a learning curve for this old goat, right? So I made the switch over. I did the trial version of Filmora 9. And I found Filmora 9 is very close to iMovie in layout and in concept. And they just come out with Filmora 10. And I actually bought the software, and I think it's great. So that's my thing. Cool.
By the way, great conversation for the Facebook group. This is exactly the kind of stuff we talk about.
Let's start it. Yeah, for sure. Let's see here. I imagine this is probably Colleen from Cool Quest asking, Erin, how's the chaga hunting going?
Good. I mean, we just kind of started looking for it last winter and found it took us about half a season before we stumbled across some, maybe. And
it's funny, yeah. Once we found it, and we found it a lot.
Yeah.
We always have a supply now.
Yeah, now we've got a pretty good supply.
We couldn't find it for the longest time.
Yeah, and I'm not an expert, but I just try and read up on it. And what I've read for harvesting is that it's most nutrient dense in the winter. So even though I think it'd probably be easier to go and try and find in the summer, because stomping through the snow, looking at every birch is a bit calorie consuming. And it's just tiring, but I haven't looked as much kind of in the summer just because I've heard it's better to harvest in the winter. So, but we did well last winter, and now we actually have quite a good stockpile and supply of it.
We put maple flavored Crown Royale in it recently, and it was quite good.
It was actually I was drinking some, and John poured himself. No, I'm good, thanks. Just poured himself a little bit of the maple flavored Crown Royal, and I was like, "You want something?" Oh, sure.
Cheers,
so
Karina.
Drinking the two together, and then I was like, actually, this kind of works. And now it's kind of like a backcountry hot toddy. So we'll do a little. We'll start doing that this winter. We'll kind of brew some up and add a little in it. But pro tip: if you're not against mixing traditional medicines with alcohol,
good to know.
Let's see here. Next one here. Gee, you know what? I got a cousin named Stephen Bouchard. I wonder if we're related. Any more videos from you guys before Christmas? Who's got something coming out before Christmas?
Yeah, we're, like I said, we're the spammers of YouTube. So, dude, 3 times a week. 4.
Yeah. Marty, you got something coming out?
I've been working that. So last weekend I was out in Algonquin, and it was like summertime, right? So and I had been putting this idea together. It's I guess the title of the video called "It's All About the Stories." With the what's it called, the Algonquin Outfitter is Randy, the marketing guy there, had reached out to me.
Randy Mitson.
I had written an article that's called "About the Stories," which talks about the the fact that, you know, a canoe camping trip is a lot more than, you know, eating dry food, getting eaten alive by bugs, and suffering from the bad weather. When you come back home at the end of the whole trip, you know, what you're left with is those stories, and you keep telling everybody, right? So I wrote an article. So this is actually getting released next Wednesday on the Algonquin Outfitter blog, and tagged along with that is the video from that trip, which is not conventional video in a sense that it's not like morning, night trip video straightforward. It's kind of little stories that kind of talk about, it's all about the stories, if you will. So I'm actually pretty proud of it. I've been putting a lot of effort into it. So that'll be kind of my last canoe trip of the season, and then I'll be falling into my regular. I cold tent. I do a lot of mountaineering winter, so that's what I'll be doing right after that. But I have one more canoe trip coming up. It's next Wednesday.
Cool. Anybody else?
Thinking about it.
We don't have any camping trip videos planned, but I'm going out, take a vacation day on Thursday. I'm going out with the True North Angler. Some of you might know his YouTube channel. We're going to go after, Adrian, we're going to go after pike and maybe some brown trout if we're lucky. So depending how the fishing is, we might have a video coming out soon.
Yeah. Yeah, well, don't worry, Adrian will catch the fish.
True. I'll try to back off him. Yeah, I'll be the best Netman video you've ever seen.
I should have 2 more videos coming out before Christmas, possibly 3, not including the live streams here. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting back pretty steady too. I'd like to start up my once a week videos again.
Well, looking forward to that for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Martin G. for John wants to know if you're to recommend one trip on the North Shore of Superior, what would it be?
Man, that's a good one. Probably Rossport Islands.
Mm-hmm. Slade Islands.
Yeah, or Slade Islands, or around Naze. The 3 of those, you couldn't possibly go wrong. Yeah, Pick Island out on Naze. We did that this summer. And if you go early spring or June, the trout fishing is off the hook. Like, you can get into rainbows, Lakers, and brookies pretty reliably, just by trolling. Just troll. Mm-hmm. They're shallow, so yeah.
I think there's lots, but for me, like Pick Island's pretty spectacular, and it's quite accessible. You can get there. You do need good weather because there's a gap, like you have to paddle out, but from the mainland to the island. But it's, what would you say,
kilometer open water crossing. That's the trouble with planning a trip to Superior if you don't live here.
Yeah.
You got to drive so far for unpredictable weather. And the fact, to try and get a week straight where you can every day make progress is not likely. Mm-hmm. I think during the summer months, they estimate you should expect to be windbound 1 out of 5 days. And in the shoulder seasons, especially fall, you should expect to be windbound 3 out of 5 days if you're in a canoe. So hard to plan a trip here if you don't live right here. We're lucky that way.
And so, I grew up here, and I grew up camping at Naze, and our trip to Pick Island was the first time I've actually made it to Pick Island, because that shore is as kind of treacherous as it is, and on a calm day, it's no big deal. And even the weekend after we did it, I took my sister to the opening. We didn't go all the way across on the day trip, but even getting across that stretch of shore can be tough on windy days. And even growing up here in kids, and my parents didn't take us. We didn't get many opportunities to go up there because of how unpredictable it can be. But if you get the right weather, it's magical. It's
yeah, and the water, phenomenal. The water's ice cold as well. Martin, I know, is experienced enough to deal with that, but be really careful if you're going on Superior.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that the weather deters a lot of people?
Yeah, it should. It should.
As in, when you're out there, you really feel like you're the only people because no one else wants to risk it.
Oh, yeah.
We had
you might see a motorboat.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Likely won't see a canoe.
Bit of a poor experience on our Pick Island trip as we were coming back. This motorboat just decided to troll behind us. And it was so bizarre because they were in the opening. What's the word I'm looking for the opening? What's the gap? Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, we're out of time.
As we were paddling, they just trolled, and we're like 50 feet behind us and just put on their trolling motors and fish right behind us. And we're like, we're gonna wait for half an hour until, or like zoom past us, go somewhere else.
It's the biggest lake in the world. They eventually overtook us and were trolling in front of us.
And then we saw them catching our trout.
Tasteless.
Very tasteless.
All right, we got one more question, and we're going to draw the evening to an end. This one here comes from Matt, and he's asking, are there any rivers or regions outside of Ontario you'd like to explore?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that comes to mind, I'll do this quick, is Brad and Leah. They did a trip on the Rio Grande in the United States, I think. Did they go into Mexico or just to the border?
Or they were right at the border.
Anyway, it looked sick.
Yeah.
And then aside from that, stuff like the Nahanni, and then Quebec has some wicked paddling too. Northern Saskatchewan and Canada is where I would probably stay first. There's just a million options here.
Yep.
But definitely, if I unlimited time and vacation and money, yeah. Oh yeah. Endless.
I'm studying for Athabasca, so maybe when I graduate, we'll go up there for graduation and do a trip.
Be an excuse to go
up to Northern Alberta.
Never stop dreaming, right? Keep the adventures alive. Yeah. Anyways, guys, you know what? Tonight flew by, man. That was like 2.5 hours for a show that I like to try and keep under the 2 hour mark.
Sorry.
Wow, very good. And you said you couldn't talk, John. I think you guys did an awesome. Anyways, Jon, Erin, thanks very much for spending your Tuesday night with us here. Much appreciated. Looking forward to the day that we could actually meet, and who knows, never know, get a good paddle in at one point or another. That same goes for everybody on panel here tonight and everybody in the chat tonight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dennis.
Thanks, Dennis.
Don't go anywhere until after I close up the show, guys. I just want to talk to you in the green room beforehand. So for anybody who hasn't checked out, and I think this is pretty highly unlikely, but for anybody who hasn't already been to Backcountry Angling Ontario, please do check it out. The links to their YouTube channel, Facebook, and Instagram accounts are in the description down below. Feel free to check that out, of course. And if you haven't already subscribed to their channel, do hit that red button and turn it gray. Let's see here. I'd like to thank everybody in the chat for joining tonight. Thanks very much for making this a very successful show. All of you on panel here tonight for joining us, asking your questions. It's really fun having you on board. Karina, great to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you all.
Yeah, don't be a stranger. And let's see here. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, Canoe Hounds Outdoor Adventure Show. And you know what? Just for shits and giggles, I'm going to put this up here one more time, which was the question for tonight's swag giveaway, which was, what was the name of John's 2-hour premiere video about a powerful 200-kilometer wilderness trip that he posted about 3 weeks ago? That's a mouthful. The answer to that question is go to his channel, check it out, and you'll find it. And let's see here. Do we want to give him a hint? Or do we want to leave behind the hint?
Let them find it.
Okay. And please do just email your answers to coasprize@gmail.com. You have until Saturday night to do so. At that point, I'll be selecting the winner. And that's about that for that. I will be announcing on my Facebook page for Canoe Hounds Outdoor Adventure Show who or what will be going on next week. I have a concept in mind, but I'll keep that posted on the show and have everybody in tune there. So make sure you like that. And until next time, thanks again for joining us. And remember, people, keep the adventures alive. Thanks for coming out. Have a great week.